Crockett. Vice, Miami.
ジョーンズ、お前得意先と会議じゃないのか。遅れるぞ。
はい。
タクシー使えよ。
はい。
あいつ今日は妙に元気だな。
あと1分で着きます。
もしかしてこれ飲んだのか。
お待たせしました。治療です。
この惑星では妙に力がみなぎる時もある。
俺も飲んじゃおうかな。
ボスからエナジー。アイアンボス。
Red is the perfect one. Black is the brooding bad boy. Green is the clown, and yellow, well, she's the girl. So what are you supposed to be?
I'm Scottish!
You're outnumbered, Aragorn. You need more men.
There are none.
There are those who dwell in the mountain.
Hello, people of Earth! It is I, Emperor Zerk. As you can tell, this has been pre-recorded. it is because I am out hunting for new Jeffs. Although it comes to my attention that you may be confused. Jeffs are co-ed. As you can see here, we are aware that you are a dual-sex species, and therefore you should know that it's okay to be a girl Jeff. Wow. That's a lady Jeff right there. Whoa. But yeah. Sign up today. We're out checking them out. Yeah, oh no, I think I said the wrong thing there. Quick, Jeff, cut the thing! Cut it!
God wants the best for you. Believe that. I do. Learn to pray. It's easy, and it's so good for your soul. Nobody is perfect. People are going to tell you you're perfect just the way you are. You're not. You are imperfect. You always will be, but there is a powerful force that designed you that way. And if you're willing to accept that, you will have grace. And grace is a gift. And like the freedom that we enjoy in this country, that grace was paid for with somebody else's blood. Do not forget it. Don't take it for granted. God bless you. Please get home safely. Thank you.
Cheeseburger, Big Mac, Whopper, hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac, Whopper, hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac, Whopper, Big Mac, Whopper, Big Mac, Big Mac.
Maybe we're just sleepwalking, or there's some serious shit going down, and none of us are being told what the hell is up, right? Welcome aboard. If you're not aware, Godzilla Minus One has been a titanic terror at the cinema. That's right, the Big G himself is tearing apart theaters across the country. If you haven't seen it, feel free to go out and see it. I'm told that it's okay for audiences 11 years old and up, so even your kids can go see it. If you're into that sort of thing, bringing your kids to a, giant monster movie, if that's their thing too. I don't know, Transformers was a thing, and from what I can tell, that was a horror movie, right? But yeah, that's right. Domestically, it's what's even bigger anyway. It's a gigantic thing over here, like $41 million, I guess, is what they're saying now on Twitter. Like, this is gigantic, biggest opening for a Japanese live action movie in the history of the movies coming over here. It's amazing. Anyway, just wanted to let everybody know that that's what's going on. Yeah, John A. Douglas here. He says Screonk intensifies. If you don't know, in the comics, that's what we decided Godzilla's signature noise is. Yeah, don't look at me. I'm a Space Godzilla fan, all right? And I know there's not many of us. I just really think he's a cool villain. Like he's as far as I know, he's the only Godzilla villain that has telekinesis. You just pick up Godzilla and just pitch him around. It was really neat. Had like little tiny arms. I remember reading one of the articles about the development of Space Godzilla, and they were saying like they had to nerf him somehow, so they made his arms all tiny so he couldn't reach things. I love it. Yeah, Godzilla is a lizard of color. That's right. That's right. This Godzilla is the Japanese Godzilla. This isn't one of those pudgy American Godzillas. Isn't it funny how isn't it funny? I'm sorry if I put anybody into like PTSD hearing that. But isn't it kind of weird that the American Godzilla was fat? Right? He's like, he's a big old tub of love coming to town, and the Japanese Godzilla, he's just psycho. He's just a psycho. Just a murdering psycho. And that's like the big difference. Like we got a fat, nice guy over here for Godzilla, and we just have a murdering psycho from Japan. So. Yeah, welcome aboard, Finatra. Welcome aboard. How's Christmas going? I'm just getting underway, in fact, I'm halfway done with the Dank Streams Christmas intro, so I don't know. Well, I might get it done in time for the show tomorrow. Maybe. We'll see. Yeah. USA Godzilla was fat because it was a chick. Really? That was a girl Godzilla? There's a She-Zilla out there? Some of you fellas hearing She-Zilla have a completely different image come to your mind, I'm sure. But, yeah, no, this is fantastic because just like manga is kicking the ass of mainstream comics, here comes Japanese cinema to kick the teeth in of our cannibalistic, witch-worshipping Hollywood well-to-dos, right? I like it. I like that our humble little brother Japan has decided to come along and, take a cane to our shins and say, hey, act better, straighten up. I like that. It was Lizzo. Yeah, it was Lizzo. Yeah, this is Lizzo in a rubber suit. That's what the 2014 Godzilla was Lizzo in a rubber suit. That's good. That's a meme right there, right? Where you have the Godzilla screonking over the city, and then and then he just straight up disappear. Like Lizzo's one of her high notes comes out of his mouth rather than the screonk. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love that. Forgive me if you hear any grinding here. Just know that that's the weed. So I'm fascinated by this because this means that we come ever closer to not having to adapt Japanese media when it comes to the US, which means Power Rangers will be obliterated overnight. We'll finally get the Kamen Rider series here without all the bizarre changes that Western adapters love to do. So, Georgina Floyd, the fine and beautiful, is here, and she says, they called me She-Zilla back in college. Oh, yeah. Were you a field hockey player? You look like you were a field hockey player. And Georgina Floyd out there in field hockey. Oh boy. Sight to behold, huh? Nah, there's Matt Barr said we should start up a stream, and I was like, sure, let's talk about conspiracies. I've made up a few. You guys, maybe you're not familiar, but I, along with the main taxi driver stories, I came up with the Tales from the Ciderverse, Katahdin's Shadow. This was a 5-disc series that I was recording for a little while there. I only got through the first one because I got bored with it. I could do more. I think it would be creepier too if, like, how many years ago did I post this now? This was 3 years ago? Yeah, so if, like, a year later, yeah, so, like, 4 years, like, every 4 years, I release a disc, like, it's not a disc, like an actual one you put in your computer, it's just recording. But, you'll hear. But, I made this one up. I'm kinda proud of this. This one discusses that there is a giant, supermassive spaceship underneath, Katahdin Mountain in Maine, and, it's full of demons. And that it drove, like, the ancient Templar that landed in Nova Scotia insane, and all this crazy stuff. Yeah, here we go. In 1973, Landsat produced the first topographical images of the Earth's surface. All right. Now, if you don't know, that's fact. That's real deal what happened. Landsat was the first attempt by, I believe, the U.S. government. I don't believe a private corporation was behind it. But Landsat was an attempt to, like, actually topographically map the entire world, but moreover, the United States. Because we only had the ability to, like, take balloons and planes over the country up to that point. And so this would offer us, like, the ability to do those wild maps you saw in, like, your geography textbooks and stuff like that, your earth science textbooks. So showing us a wide array of mountain formations and the curiosity of Katahdin. In 1978, surveyors from several countries agreed that Katahdin simply didn't follow the norms of the rest of the Appalachians. In fact, it seemed intelligently assembled, as though it had been designed to look like a mountain. You ever notice that? You ever notice a mountain that just looks too much like a mountain? You ever notice that? Like, you're just looking at that, you're like, man, that is just too atypical of a mountain. That's like somebody, like, matte painted a mountain, not like Matt Barr painted, but like matte, M-A-T-T-E, matte painted, right? And that's kind of like how Katahdin is, but it also, like, if you follow the knife back of the Appalachians, right? The Appalachians, if you come from, outside of New England, if you follow that knife back, it's kind of like the glacier that made the Appalachian Trail just, like, fell off the continental shelf and then was like, "Whoa, that's too cold," and then jumped back up on the mountain. It's the most bizarre thing here. Hold on, I'll pick it up. We'll take a look at it. So, Appalachian Trail. All right, because this goes all the way up into. Let me see if we can find the terrain map. Nope. Okay. Appalachian Trail. Come on, Google. See, it's trying to hide it. It knows. It knows. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So Katahdin. No, it's still not giving me a map. See, it's bullshit. Look at that. That's amazing. It's amazing. Wow. Blows my mind. It's crazy. It's crazy how this is this is fighting me, and, like, we don't know what you're talking about. There are no mountains in Maine. What do you mean? Let's show you a bunch of shit in New York. That's amazing. Anyway, the way that the Appalachian Trail goes, right? So these mountains move like they're supposed to, and then all of a sudden, Katahdin is just sort of like cut at a 45-degree angle against the regular progression of the mountains. They weave back and forth, yes. They snake, if you will, like a mountain range usually does. But then all of a sudden, Katahdin's like, just, what? It just bends off for some reason. And it makes no sense. So that's what started this to me, is I was looking at these maps just looking over Maine, and I was like, what the fuck is going on with Katahdin? And see, I was always spooked out of it as a kid, because when you're driving up north where I come from from Holton, way up on the Canadian border. It's originally where I'm from. And when you're driving like the long stretch of highway from like Old Town, Maine, all the way up to Holton, where it's like just mostly forest. You got a couple of like logging towns scattered through there, but it's about it. You know, there's no big hubs of civilization till you get to Holton. And even then, that's got a Walmart. That's its claim to fame, okay? Woo, it's got a Walmart, guys. But so we'd be driving by it, and like, no matter if it was like sunrise or sunset, didn't matter which way the sun was pointing at Katahdin, it was always purple. And like some people would be like, oh, that's really pretty that mountain's purple all the time when the sun's at certain apexes in the sky. But I was always creeped out by it. It always bothered the shit out of me. I was like, that's really weird that mountain always looks like it's cast in shadow despite being higher than everything around it. Really bothered me. Following several incursions by the Russians, newly elected President Ronald Reagan orders submarine nets to be installed along all ports of the eastern seaboard. In 1989, after the fall of the Berlin Wall, documents related to Katahdin surfaced from abandoned Soviet and Nazi bunkers. Now, if you don't know, there were actually Nazi spies that did come to Maine. They were imprisoned here, and they were like work. They were sort of like, they did work here. They dug ditches and things like that. But they defected at the end of the war and decided to stay and become Americans because they had learned whatever. So that's where this is based off of. Because I was like, well, sure, if the Nazis were here trying to spy on our air defenses, why not just say that they were trying to figure out why this mountain was giving off all this crazy radiation? Though written in a very complex code, the papers roughly translated to questions about the mountain, the abnormal Geiger counter readings, seemingly all gathered from Nazi and Soviet spies deployed from Germany. In 1992, in the 11th hour of his presidency, George Herbert Walker Bush hastily signs military spending bills directed at continuing counterintelligence efforts against what remained of the Soviet Union. 1994, Australian biologist Ernst Preissner is brought to Maine to study insects around Katahdin, as well as form hypotheses about the evolution of these insects. On July 19, 1994, Dr. Ernst Preissner fails to return to his cabin at the Big Moose Inn, located in Millinocket, Maine. Okay, so Ernst Preissner is an actual biologist that won many awards in the 80s and early 90s from his discoveries in Australia that basically are what we come to know today, like the alphabet of murder in the animal kingdom of murder down in Australia. Is very, very prolific biologist when it came to studying insects that kill people. And so I thought he'd be a perfect guy to drag into Maine and then get drug into this spaceship full of demons. You know, why not? Right? It's not like he's doing anything else, you know? He has not been seen or heard from since. 2001, after being defunded following the disappearance of Dr. Ernst Preissner, the newly formed Department of Homeland Security revives the Katahdin case, dubbing it Katahdin Shadow. The military presence in Maine is slowly torn down, as well as the nuclear facilities and naval installations. Now, this is true. They took out the Maine Yankee, which was our nuclear power generation station. Yeah, we had nuclear power here in Maine. And then for some reason, after the Soviets collapsed, they were like, no, you not gonna have this. It's not like 3 Mile Island up here or anything like that. We don't get that kind of crap. But for whatever reason, they were like, nope, we're going to implode the core. Fuck you guys. Bye. And and then they took out the Brunswick Naval Base. And now you can walk your dog through where like people trained how to operate guns that could blow apart cities. You know, it's really annoying. You know, they even tore up the rails that used to run in and out of that place just in case, just in case somebody I don't know, followed one rail somewhere they shouldn't. I don't know, with the Bigfoot Depot. But yeah, that's what they did. The war on terror, and then they started tearing apart everything we had to defend ourselves up here. 2001 continued. In November, Dr. Don C. Whiteley, a professor of biochemistry at Harvard, is hired by Homeland Security. His mission is to study Katahdin's biological impact and perform a control group experiment of campers on the mountain for over a month. On December 22nd of November, Dr. Don... On December 22nd of November. Every now and then, I fuck my own shit up. C. Whiteley is reported missing by the control group. He is never heard from again. 2002, it is decided that the Katahdin Shadow Project will move forward with digging. Parts of the park are shut down, and the public is told that rock slides are to blame. The military... Now, Katahdin has a shit ton of rock slides, and it's because it's like a proper like mountain where like everything has come from the top. It's not like one of those piled up mountains, right? It's been eroded down with a bunch of you have gravel that has formed over the years, that sort of thing. As you can see right here, this is the kind of terrain that's at the top of the Katahdin knife back, right? And so as you can see through here, there's like a lot of opportunity for shit to just break off and then hit other shit. And all that shit breaks off together and starts rolling down fucking hill at you and your goddamn buddies, right? At like 30 miles an hour, you know? So yeah, it's not too far-fetched to believe that the government might cause a rock slide and accidents to happen in order to justify closing off whole sections of the mountain for private research, you know? That's all I was trying to explain there. But you're right. You're right, 7 of 9. Nuclear power is safe until it's not for 20,000 years. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We have a lot of safety protocols now. The nuclear power systems that we are like building at this very moment in like middle America. Those are like the most advanced nuclear power facilities ever, and they also use the uranium reclamation process that France developed. So it's as safe as it can get. But you're absolutely right. Chernobyl is never not going to be possible so long as we're using fission instead of fusion. That's why if anybody ever asks you, you should always say, "I'm for fusion nuclear power, nuclear fusion power, not fission." Anyway, back to this nonsense. The military offers to help reconstruct the trails. The public is led to believe the army is just another fan club of Katahdin. 2002 continued. June 2002. Military remembers report sounds they can't rationalize. The forests around the mountain bear crooked trees, locally known to be from the time of the Penobscot tribe's occupation of the area. This is known to be a warning to fellow hunters. And this is what it was back in those ancient times when the natives were dominating that area. They would tie down like a sapling with like a leather strap or whatever, or another sapling. They would tie it down to the ground, and so as you were going, you'd see this. All the trees are doing very uniform things they're supposed to do. Like going up, and then all of a sudden you'd see one going sideways, or 2 or 3 of them going sideways in one space. And that was to tell you that like mountain lions were nearby, bears, other tribes even. That was just to give people, their fellow tribesmen or other native folk who were familiar with what that meant, to a warning to stay away. And even now you could see the product of it out just walking around in the woods. There's trees that are bent right over 90 degrees, and then all of a sudden they bend 90 degrees back up again, headed toward the sky again. And that's what it did to them. So you see these pictures sometimes from around the country even, and I suspect this was a process that was even outside of New England. So you see that when you see these trees that are just bent right over for no reason at all, or they've grown in like this weird staircase kind of looking shape, that's because the natives tied it down in order to warn anybody else coming through that there's trouble. There's trouble, So yeah, I've seen trees like that, but also watch out for staircases. Watch out for staircases. Those, if you find those in the woods, it's time to get out of wherever those woods you're in is at. Yeah, that's English. Anyway, back to this. 2002 continued. September 2002. Drilling machines along the base of the mountain encounter a silver mucus substance. The machines are fouled by the mucus, and the diggers instead resort to blasting. Unearthly noises in the forest intensify as blasting commences. The blasting. So, what I created with this was, so the military is trying to breach into the spaceship. They don't know it's a spaceship. They just know there's something spooky underneath that mountain that's giving off some crazy radiation. And so when they can't dig into it with proper equipment, they start blasting, right? They start attaching explosives to it and start blasting in order to get into the ship. And the resulting reaction to that in the forest is that the spirits, or whatever you'd like for your imagination to be, are very unhappy about humanity's attempt to crack open the spaceship full of demons. So, is ineffective. 2003, January 11th. Nitrogen is used to freeze the mucus, allowing it to be cut away by asphalt saws. A cavernous metallic interior is exposed upon the removal of several layers of mucus. Infantry teams report an intense odor and are forced to evacuate and return later wearing environmental protection suits. 2003, January 11th, continued. Experimental LED lighting is brought in, but quickly shorts out. Okay, so what does that mean, right? What does that mean? Why would experimental, because again, this is early 2000s, so LED lighting is still pretty new, you know? It's not exactly, you know, like you can buy it off of wish.com kind of stuff. You can get it in a ring you get out of a 50-cent gumball machine thing, you know? What does that mean when those get shorted out, right? Well, see, I wanted to go with a low-level electromagnetism was present that inside of this vessel and caused it to break down immediately, so that only like an analog light would work, because it doesn't have the type of circuitry that could be fouled by this. 7 of 9 asks, can the government drop a mountain big enough to create a tsunami on the other side of the ocean? A mountain? You mean like a 20-ton megaton bomb? Yeah, 20 megaton bomb. Yeah, definitely. Oh well. We'll wait and see, right? We're gonna get to see those 20 megatons do their thing. Failure is blamed on untested technology. 2003, January 11th continued. Infantry teams report the presence of intense electromagnetic waves. 2003, January 12th, 3:44 a.m. Radio transmission ceases with infantry teams, and gunshots are heard from within the structure. 2003, January 12th continued. 4:15 a.m. Breach and heavy assault teams are sent in to retrieve infantry teams. All infantry are reported to have died from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Whoa, wait a minute. All those guys went in there and they ended up taking themselves out, right? They ended up logging out of Minecraft on their own hand, right? That's weird, right? What would it possess someone to want to do that, like, immediately and not even ask for help, right? Now that they're inside of this cavernous evil thing, right? Bizarre, right? Strange things are afoot. All to the left temple. 2003, February 6th. Micmac tribesmen arrive at the digging site by helicopter. Now, if you don't know, the Micmacs were the tribe that are believed to have like been the ones that the Templar who came to like Oak Island and Nova Scotia, the ones that supposedly took the Ark of the Covenant out of Jerusalem and then out of Europe. So the Micmacs are the ones that they like merged into, and there's some proof of this because the Micmacs have some French dialect to them, and their DNA does have some European roots to them. That's roughly French. So it's one of those things, you know. It's one of those things. Like, why would the Micmac be arriving here? Provide access to a book written by Henry Ive at the digging site by helicopter. They provide access to a book written by Henry St. Clair. Okay, so Henry St. Clair was the leader, supposed leader of the Templar that left during the Friday the 13th massacre and headed to the New World, if you will. That previously had only been recorded on Viking maps, by the way. Titled, Devils Come from the Sky. No one is allowed to photograph or touch the book. The St. Clair book provides drawings and rambling descriptions of horrific sounds, energy, weather, and enraged angels. 2003, February 7th. With supervision from the Micmac representatives, St. Clair's book is exposed to ultraviolet light. Hidden in the backdrop of St. Clair's writings were the ramblings of a mentally disturbed man. He details begging God to strike him dead so that he didn't have to live with the knowledge of this cursed mountain. Yeah.
You have reached the end of Disc 1. Please insert Disc 2 now.
So yeah, that was the Katahdin's shadow story thingamabob. Well, I'll just go back to it. Oops. So this was one of those things, like I said earlier, was just sort of inspired by the creepy nature of this mountain as I was growing up, you know. I've got more. It's just all in text form. I haven't recorded any of it. I wrote it like back in whatever 3 years ago was, 2020 now. But you'll have to excuse me. I started up a stream before I needed to, you know, take care of some problems. So just going to play you guys a little song here while I use the restroom. Jesus full of love around this place. Open your feeling, open your love. Tonight is Christmas night. Love is silent passion for this time. Jesus is the way for every human race. Jesus full of love around the space. Look inside your heart and search your best emotions. Look inside the lonely children's feet. Open your feeling, open your mind. Tonight is Christmas, take your love, you will be kind. Open your feeling, open your love. Tonight is Christmas night. Love inside and passion for this time. We can stop the wars and all the people crimes. We can search for love so deep inside. Okay, thank you very much for sitting through Eurobeat Christmas. I appreciate your patience. But yeah, that's the trouble. You just start up a stream and you don't think through. Did you check off all the boxes before you went live? Did you check off all of them? Yeah. But I did do more of the Katahdin's shadow project. I did write disc 2 and, well, up to 5. And so disc 2 begins with 2003, February 10th. A naval sonar experiment triggers interior lighting. The cave is reclassified as an intelligent structure. 2003, February 12th. An experimental remote controlled bomb diffusing robot is sent into the structure. Its onboard camera can only transmit infrared footage due to an electromagnetic interference. 2003, February 12th continued. 2:37 p.m. Infrared footage appears scrambled at first, but clears up as the robot moves deeper into the structure. More pronounced signs of violence become present as the footage clears up. Long dead human remains are found. A native female, clothing intact. 2003, February 12th continued. 4 p.m. After traveling through 400 feet into the structure, the robot must return for new batteries. 2003, February 12th continued. 4:45 p.m. The robot's DSLR camera stills capture mutilated and inhuman skeletons fused into the walls of the interior of the structure. Stills also reveal claw marks and more silver mucus, all unseen by the infrared camera. 2003, February 13th. A small heavy assault team volunteers to enter the structure. They are fitted with environmental suits and harnesses to retract them at the first sign of trouble. So you see, this is getting pretty serious for these guys, right? This is getting pretty serious. Yeah? Oh, I thought I was muted. My toilet's not that close. Shit. This is a really good mic if it could pick me up that far. Wow. How about that? But yeah. So as you can see, this is getting pretty serious, right? They've now got an assault team wearing environmental protection suits going into this thing, okay? Get pretty serious, right? 2003, February 13th, continued, 9:13 a.m. Ares team enters the structure. Team leader describes black diamond-like walls and ceiling. The lighting appears to be bioluminescent and intelligent as corridors are illuminated when the team penetrates further and further into the structure. 2003, February 13th, continued, 9:47 a.m. Ares team reports that the structure appears to be fused to the bedrock at the westernmost section of this structure. Claw marks and ballistic weapon traces are found in an airway near the arch of this section. The airway is too high to investigate further without climbing gear. 2003, February 13th, continued, 10:04 a.m. Ares team returns to base camp for medical evaluation and food. Team members report an uneasy feeling within the structure, and all report experiencing rapid fatigue and hunger upon returning to the main access point. Intense alpha radiation is detected all over their environmental suits. 2003, February 14th. A decontamination chamber is constructed at the main access point. Ares team volunteers to explore the easternmost section of the structure. So again, they've noticed now that there's something going on when people go in there. They're getting like blanketed with radiation when they go in there, right? You know? Yeah, right? Yeah, you go inside the ship, you end up hungry, you know? What's that all about? Why is your metabolism kicking into high gear when you get inside this thing, right? And it's just buried underneath a mountain, right? It's buried underneath a mountain. Yeah, intensely radioactive. Exactly. Yeah. It's intelligent like a cuttlefish. It could be intelligent like a brainless jellyfish from space. Could be a giant brainless jellyfish too. We don't know. Ares team hasn't reported anything yet that we recognize as like traditional in any sense, other than perhaps that archway and the ballistic weapons traces. But if there was a native female body that was like had rotted, but the clothing was intact, right? So like there's just a skeleton there, but the clothing appeared untouched, right? It's quite bizarre. It's like time sort of fluctuates a little bit in this space, maybe. Then you had those skeletons that are fused to the walls and stuff. Pretty weird. All right. So, easternmost section. 2003, February 14th, continued 9 a.m. Ares team departs the decontamination chamber and enter the structure once again. They are outfitted with radiation-proof suits provided by NASA. 2003, February 14th, continued 9:22 a.m. Ares team leader reports passing infantry team's last location. Team leader describes dusty marble floor, an inch or two deep. Inspection of the ceiling reveals silver mucus stalagmites. Portions of the black diamond ceiling are gathered for testing. 2003, February 14th, 9:25 a.m. Ares team harness lines are drawn out at a rapid pace. The team leader reports they have fallen through the floor and are now experiencing a different gravitational pull. 2003, February 14th, continued 9:35 a.m. Ares team leader radios to base in emotional distress. Once calmed down, he reports upon exploring further into the corridor, they discovered a gigantic hall and the skeletal remains of an armored quadrupedal creature, estimated to be over 70 feet in length. The cranium appears to be melted and contorted with purpose. The team is unable to describe the facial structure of the remains. 2003, February 14th, 12:18 p.m. Ares team arrives at the main access point. Decontamination takes its toll on them. All team members disobey orders and go immediately to the mess hall. 2003, February 14th, continued 1:09 p.m. On-site physicians estimate that each Ares team member has so far consumed 6,000 calories in under an hour. The eating continues. We're getting into the eating, bar. Yeah, just like that. Yeah.
Is this? I think I like had to go downstairs. Is this something that you wrote? Is this fiction that you wrote? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, what the fuck is going on? When did this happen? This is crazy.
2003, February 14th, continued 2:23 p.m. Ares team members have become unresponsive and are now in the on-site medical trailers. Extreme dehydration has set in. Each member receives 4 liters of water in an hour's time. 2003, February 15th, Ares team members stabilize, but still remain unconscious. It is unknown at this time if they will ever wake up. So, man, that got pretty serious pretty quick on them. They found a giant skeleton out there, right? They found a giant skeleton. They can't describe what it is. It's quadrupedal. So whatever it was, it walked around on 4 legs. But it's just, you know, the face was melted on it. They don't know what it is. Now
the face was melted?
Yeah, with purpose. So like it wasn't just
so
like,
it was
oh,
like
no, a
it was
fireball
obvious.
hit it.
It was obvious that like
something
the face had been distorted and melted as
Right.
opposed to the rest of the skeleton. Okay.
Right. And so there had been like special like damage done to that, right? And so now these guys came back and they just like immediately leave the decontamination chamber, don't go to briefing, and just start eating and eating. They eat 6,000 calories in under an hour, each of them, one apiece. And then they experience rapid dehydration and have to receive 4 liters of water in order to stay at even the critical level before going into like, you're going to die dehydration.
Jesus.
What is going on inside of a spaceship, man? What the hell?
Is that what this is? So it's a spaceship underground?
It's a super massive structure that they've uncovered. Well, partially uncovered.
Under the mountain.
Under Mount Katahdin, which they're discovering now is only just like a skin. It was designed to hide the spaceship.
Holy shit. Okay.
2003, February 17th. Now, we've skipped the 16th entirely. That's gone now. That whole day has been lost. 2003, February 17th. Ares team members are still unresponsive. Brainwave activity monitors are brought in from MIT. All appear to be in REM sleep. Each member is now receiving 10 liters of water per 24-hour period.
They're just, where is this water going? They're putting water into these guys. Where is it going?
Where is it going?
Are they just like, they're just like mummifying as they sit there?
What is happening? Exactly. 2003, February
Are
17th.
they
Now we've
sweating?
February. Yeah, again, like who knows, man. So
Like, are they just
2000.
laying there sweating? I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
I know, man. I
I
know
got
they're getting
questions,
10
dude.
liters of water
I
an
got
hour, man.
questions.
You should balloon up at that level.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You're dealing with like some serious, like even like water poisoning, like water on
Yeah.
the brain. You
The
know, like
cells should be at their breaking point at that.
yeah. You're rupturing shit at that point.
Apparently,
You
that's
hear
not
about
happening
people
though.
at like raves dying because they drink too much water. You know, I mean that's happened. So
So here we go, man. So here's the
I'm totally
final
believing this.
entry.
I'm just totally into this, like it's fucking real, dude. I'm just
Right.
fucking
So
rolling
here's
with it.
right exactly. So here's the final entry for disc 2, right? Here's the end of disc 2. It says 2003, February 22nd. We last left at the 17th. All right. That there's so many things have happened in this time period that they simply did not record.
Mhm.
It did not find its way into the military record of this. So it says 2003, February 22nd. Ares team members are evacuated from the site. Their
Mhm.
destination is unknown at this time. Please eject disc 2 and insert disc 3 now. So that was
So what
pretty
did
spooky.
they pulled the people out and then they just fucking bulldozed it closed? Is there
No.
anything in there moving around? Oh, so they just moved the guys away and
Yeah,
they
they've
kept
taken the
fucking with
team
it.
out because they're well, no, they've taken the team out. They haven't stopped fucking with it because we got disc 3 through 5 still here.
Okay.
So here we go. It says
They found
2000
any creatures? They just found the skeleton, the one with the melted face.
so far. Yep,
And did it have clothes? Like how do we know that it was like
it was
a vibe?
armored.
It was armored. Okay. So you're like, well, I mean, it could still be a steed of something, you know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
not necessarily
Battle cat.
an occupant. Yeah. That's what is it? Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
No, it's no, you're good, man. This is what it was designed to do. So here's disc 3. 2003, June 12th. President George W. Bush is alone with his mother, Barbara Bush. She presents information, newspaper clippings, and photographs of the strange vandalism taking place in the Katahdin region, which actually happened. There was a bunch of kids that were going around and burning a bunch of signs up trying to be spooky. So, and they actually go to Camp David here in Maine, so they kind of care about the Acadia region and whatever.
Mhm.
So, 2003, June 13th. Presidents H.W. and W. Bush discuss Katahdin Shadow Project. The subject is put to rest when they are joined by locals on a golf course not far from Walker's Point. The press overhear H.W. Bush quietly say to his son, "Reload." 2003, February 25th. President Bush authorizes Homeland Security Tom Ridge to put the matter to rest. 2003, June 9th. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld establishes Black Ops Department with part of the $2.3 trillion extracted for burn after reading departments.
Mhm.
It is named the Orion Falls Initiative.
Mm.
2003, July 11th. Having been in political limbo since the Ares incident, the Katahdin Shadow Project had been drawn down to a rotating unit of 15 soldiers. Their reports are chilling. 2003, July 12th. Based on the reports given by the Guardian unit, proximity alarms are established 230 yards from the base of Katahdin. Orion's Fall Initiative dismisses these soldiers. 2003, July 15th. During equipment setup, it is quickly discovered that the interior of the structure is emitting concentrated delta brainwaves.
It's emitting brain waves?
Delta brainwaves.
What does that mean? I'm sorry. What I'm
So that's the
lay it to
concentrated
me,
kinds.
layman.
So
Okay.
when you're really like doing your thing, the delta waves are like the really we can measure brainwaves leaving the skull. And when you're concentrating, the delta waves are like they're like radio waves. They're much closer in their bands than when you're just daydreaming. So
Okay.
technically, you have a Wi-Fi signal leaving your head, is what this is.
Oh
And
shit.
so now the machine, apparently, the structure itself is giving off this stuff, right? Pretty crazy.
Very much so. Okay.
Drake says, "I have some delta." Yep.
We don't know what's emitting it yet. We haven't like seen the core or
Nope.
the
They've
source.
barely gotten into this. They've only made it past the first infantry team that committed suicide when they went in.
Jeez. Okay.
Nutty.
Yeah. They don't have drones or anything. They're not just like pushing robots in there or anything.
This is 2003. There were no drones. They brought in a bomb robot, but its batteries ran out all the time.
Okay. All right. I'm thinking like, the little tank looking things that they use on the pyramids.
Little bomb robots.
Yeah. Just push those little fuckers in there.
In 2003, those things had to have a cable behind them to travel further than like 300 yards.
I mean, I feel like the military would be like, get the fucking cable. Like, I don't think a cable would be the concern. Like, hey, I want to see in there, sir. Cable costs about $50 a yard. All right, fuck it.
We're America.
Yeah,
give them $100 a yard.
Exactly. Are you sure we can't get that for $200 a yard?
So they heard what you had to say, though, Matt. So they decided to stop sacrificing humans to figure out what exactly is happening.
It's a good idea.
So what they did. So 2003, July 18th, 10,000 rats equipped with subdermal GPS trackers are brought to the site and let loose into the structure. After 2 hours, all signals are lost. The failure is blamed on alpha radiation detected further in than the teams had reached. 2003, July 20th. Now, we skipped the 19th again. We've missed a day. The whole day has disappeared out of this record. Redacted. 2003, July 20th. Orion's Fall Initiative receives signals from the lost GPS-equipped rats. This is a whole day later. They all surfaced in Sandy Stream Pond. This is just roughly about a mile south of the Katahdin Peak.
Okay.
Upon an autopsy, the rats were found to have been dead for 3 months.
What? We're dealing with something temporal.
2003, October 9th. Now, they've completely skipped months now in this military record.
Oh, I mean, maybe it's temporal. Maybe it's some kind of weird radiation. You know what I mean? Maybe it's some sort of like tachyon particles that are like, that are.
If it's a giant spaceship, it had to have some kind of propulsion unit, right?
Mm-hmm.
YouTube is totally different. Yes, it is. That's why you have a headache right now. But yeah,
take a bong hit, man. That shit helps.
Yeah, it fixes it. Yeah. But yeah, that's so. Now they found these rats. Now they're gonna go they've skipped months since these rats popped out. Now they're gonna go, and they're gonna come back in October with a new plan. 2003, October 9th. Orion's Falls Initiative send in a single person, intelligence officer Kurt von Ackerman. He is equipped with an extra. Hello? Is there an echo? 1, 2.
Can you hear me? Is it for me?
There was an echo. Hello? 1. Nope, you're good. Sorry, there was some weird echo for a second there. Anyway, intelligence officer Kirk von Ackerman. He is equipped with an experimental delta wave jammer. Ackerman performs several tests and reports none of the symptoms that Ares' team had. His exploratory mission is given a green light. So they've sent a man in here now, and he's got a suit that blocks the delta waves.
Okay.
Now, we do have that. It's like Charles Xavier's helmet. It actually exists. It's like several layers of it's not like lead, but it's several layers of a certain material
like a
that
very
slows down.
Special tinfoil hat.
Yeah, very special tinfoil hat. Yes, very special.
It's mil-spec tinfoil. Okay.
2003, October 10th, 7 a.m. Ackerman enters the structure. He is outfitted in the same radiation-proof armor and coating as Ares' team. Ackerman wears a special suit developed by NASA to journey to fully support his journey into the structure. 2003, October 10th continued, 7:30 a.m. Ackerman describes touching the wall and scraping off the black diamond surface. Beneath the surface, he discovers more bioluminescent lighting and suggests that the diamond-like finish might be corrosion. He moves on. 2003, October 10th continued, 8:48 a.m. Ackerman reports finding the drop-off point where Ares fell through the floor. He tugs on his tether and then leaps. He describes falling briefly before being drawn down to what would be this giant hall's ceiling. 2003, October 10th continued, 9:30 a.m. Ackerman reports finding the quadrupedal remains. He describes a feeling of dread looking at the monster, as he calls it. Ackerman reports another large corridor has been illuminated in front of him. 2003, October 10th continued, 9:33 a.m. Ackerman reports that this hall has mirror-like water along the ceiling. He is startled and reports being drawn toward the water. Orion Falls officials ordered him to leave that hall immediately.
It's on the ceiling?
Yeah, there's like a mirror above him that looks like water that starts immediately pulling him toward it.
Oh, shit. Does he? Oh, okay. Did he lose
they order him
anything
out of that
into it?
space.
Is it like, don't go into that water?
Yeah, that's
Like
what
like a
OFI
fucking
tells him to
temple.
do.
Okay.
Yep.
Who knows what that
Ackerman
was?
is again startled as it reports discovering the wreckage of a two-man craft in the distance. 2003, October 10th continued, 9:55 a.m. Ackerman radios for emotional support. The two-man craft is an enormous helmet. After calming down, Ackerman describes black diamond corrosion as being sparse across the surface of the helmet.
Helmet? It's
the
a helmet.
He
It's
mistook
like a giant
the
helmet.
craft. Yeah, he mistook what he thought was like a ship, like a craft, like a shuttle, like a Star Trek shuttle.
Yeah.
It's a helmet. He
But it's a
mistook it
helmet.
as a.
How does he know it's a helmet?
Because he gets up on it and looks at it.
Okay. Because he thought it was a spaceship, and now
When he
he's
was
telling me
walking
that
to
it's a
it.
fucking helmet.
Right,
I'm
as he
like,
gets up to it.
are you sure, buddy?
Well,
You sure about that?
if there was a 50-foot man and his helmet fell on the ground, would you immediately, like, if you had never seen that?
At this point,
I think
I
it was
don't
a
know.
ship.
I'm dealing with some sort of diamond residue. I'm
Yeah, that's
already
true.
wearing a fucking suit. I'm seeing a four-legged creature. I don't know if my first thought would be it's a fucking motorcycle helmet. But I don't know. Maybe I'd have to I guess see it visually. But if he's
describing it in this
I
next
believe
entry.
him. If he's saying it looks like a helmet, then okay.
After
He's a
calming
professional.
down, Ackerman describes corrosion being sparse across the surface of the helmet. The face shielding appears horrific. Ackerman describes deformed elephant features and barbed, curved horns.
Oh.
So 2003, October 10th continued, 10:09 a.m. Ackerman disconnects his tether. OFI lose communication with Ackerman. And that's that. The next entry is in December. So he disconnects his tether just roughly about 11 minutes after he discovered this helmet. He disconnects his tether and they lose communication with him.
Wow. What if he stepped into the helmet or something? So he's talking about the helmet and then he disappears.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. That's what happens. About 9 minutes later, it's the last entry here before this one. Let's see, the last entry before this one is at 9:55 a.m. and then the final entry for Ackerman is at 10:09. So 9 minutes, and he just disconnects his tether. Like whatever happened to him, he voluntarily gave himself to it.
How do we know it's voluntary?
He disconnected the tether.
It's that elaborate that it's not just like he got bitten or he got teleported.
I suppose that could be the case. It says disconnected, and instead of like Ackerman abruptly loses communication. So I'm guessing that it was voluntary. If they say disconnect here. So
yeah, if they reeled it back in and it wasn't severed or damaged, it was just unscrewed.
Right.
And
that's what disconnect says to me, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, the next entry is all the way
details.
It's all the way in December now, right? It's all the way in December. Okay. So it says 2003, December 6th. Following an intense investigation of the audio recordings from Ackerman, Orion Falls Initiative returns to the Katahdin Shadow Site. 2003, December 19th. OFI sends another remote-controlled robot into the structure. See, Matt, they're seeing we can't keep throwing guys into this, right?
Yeah.
So equipped with the new white lithium batteries, because this is 2003. So lithium batteries are brand new, as far as putting them on a machine. equipped with the white lithium batteries and an umbilical cord that provides power and commands. This new robot's been sent in. Okay. So it's 2003, December 19th, continued. The robot is deployed with naval sonar equipment in an attempt to use harmonics to trigger another change in the interior. The robot arrives at what is known as Ares Drop. Now, that would be where the hole in the floor is, where Ares' team fell through. So, 2003, December 19th, continued, 16:12 p.m. Now, you'll have to understand that this is military time now. So, this is a new stenographer taking note, or at least whoever's finishing the report for Disc 3. So, it's 16:12. OFI activates the naval sonar. 2003, December 19th, continued, 16:22. So this is just 10 minutes later. Thunderous screeching has filled the previously silent structure. The screeching is traced to deeper still within the structure. Please eject Disc 3 and insert Disc 4 now. R.I.P. Ackerman, right? That's it for Ackerman.
Yeah.
Yeah, the delta waves don't affect the robots. Exactly. So there's something working against those batteries, though, wearing them out in a hurry.
Yeah.
That's why they have to have the umbilical.
You think the same thing that's affecting the batteries is what, is mummifying people and what made the other people like go through their radiation sicknesses or whatever to make them eat and drink?
Well, if the rats were time traveling, I would suspect that somewhere in there's a wandering temporal field. And whatever Ackerman interacted with could have been that, could have been anything else that he interacted with after he disconnected himself that made him disappear. There's something
why would he
moving around
connect him? So yeah.
So what happened with Ares'
like
team? So what happened with Ares' team is like their cells probably got into some type of temporal radiation, right? So like their cells are saturated with a tachyon, so they're going through a rapid replenishment cycle. Effectively, they'd become like biologically immortal, but their brains would be in a constant state of sleep because their bodies would be exhausted supporting this constant refreshing of their cells all the time. That's why they had to eat. That's why the water's evaporating so quickly. The cells are overheating, doing this rapid replenishment thing that the tachyon radiation is causing.
What the fuck is this thing? It's been in there for a long time. Excuse me.
So here we go to Disc 4. Hello and welcome again to Disc 4. 2003, December 20th. After cycling through frequencies with the sonar device, the screeching has stopped. The bioluminescent has become very yellow and appears to be throbbing. 2003, December 29th. All right, so it's been 9 days between recordings. They were like completely fucked with this sonar thing. Continued sonar experiments have yielded no further results. The structure appears to only react to a limited range of ultrasonic waves. So that would suggest that whatever these elephant-like creatures, because that's what Ackerman described the helmet to be like, right? And you would presume that that helmet belonged to the creature that was closer up, that the team described and then Ackerman described, that had the face that was all melted, right?
Yeah, it had face melted, but it has a huge head. It's like...
Yeah, it was described as 70 meters long.
I'm sitting here, 70 meters?
Yeah. It was a monster. He called it a monster.
Yeah.
So that's why he thought the helmet was a ship. So it's whatever these things were, they communicated with high-pitched ultrasonic waves. That was how they spoke. It appears that the ship responds to a certain range of them, and that would suggest that was what these creatures could make for a noise.
Yep. So they had 4 legs, and they had kind of a big head because of their helmets. And they also had sonics. I'm like kind of doodling this, dude, as we're...
I'm glad you're having fun with it. It's like one of those Lovecraftian mysteries.
Yeah, but it's like, it's old, so it's like, maybe it's not even real. Maybe it's like, I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point,
Well, they skip all the way to January now. So,
Okay.
2004, January 13th. After a brief suspension of the investigation following Pentagon inquiries, OFI returns to Katahdin. 2000. So the government wants to know what the hell's going on now.
Yeah.
2004, January 16th, a Delta Wave jammer suits are delivered to the site, along with experimental umbilical cords that power the suits, provide oxygen, and provide wired audio communication. So that way you won't be able to be lost unless you unhook yourself like Ackerman. 2004, January 18th.
You should be like thinking about tethering these motherfucking dudes. So it's like,
that's what this is.
Yeah, they have a thing, but just as soon as you stop, you just start dragging their asses back.
Yep, that's what these are. These are Delta Wave jammer suits from NASA that have the umbilical cords from Ackerman's suit built into them. So they're going in with Ackerman's suit now. It's been like mass produced. 2004.
I wouldn't allow them to be. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, what were we saying?
I'm saying I wouldn't allow the guy, like, once we lose one guy from like self disconnection. Yeah, let's remove that. Let's go ahead and super glue that connection so that they can't do that.
Yeah,
right?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
They're
unlock
just like,
it,
hey,
yeah.
we lost one guy. Yeah, lock that shit in. We're gonna bolt
Drag
you
him
in.
back.
And don't even tell them. Yeah, don't even tell them. Like, hey, can I disconnect? Nope. No, you can't. You can't disconnect. Okay, go.
2004, January 18th. Black Ops Pisces team arrives at
shit.
Katahdin. And with them, the test results from the silver mucus and the black diamonds. The 2004, January 18th, continued, 11:22 a.m. OFI and Pisces team have a closed door meeting. 2004, January 18th, continued. The silver mucus tests positive for triple helix DNA. You know what that is?
What is that?
So triple helix DNA is like our DNA. So you have that kind of that ladder that's twisted. That's our DNA. Well, imagine if there was a third bar to that ladder. So you got the two on the side. Now imagine one up the middle.
Okay.
All right. So it's triple
But it's
helix
natural
DNA.
base, though. It's like natural base. Like, we're not dealing with some sort of like
That's what the silver
biosynthetic
mucus
thing.
protecting the exterior of the ship was. The shielding was a DNA. Yeah. It's like some type of organic thing. It says it is heat resistant. The compound isn't made up of earthbound elements. This is a DNA that does not have periodic elements from our observable universe. 2004, January 18th, continued. The black diamonds are made of carbon, and it is suggested that they are a form of entropy based on Ackerman's report. So when this ship, rather than getting like red rust iron oxidization, whatever happens to the ship as it's rotting or something, it develops this black diamond carbon that builds up where rust would.
Fuck. Okay.
Right? 2004, January 18th, continued, 1344. Pisces team performs functionality tests on the Delta Wave jammer suits. All members report no symptoms. 2004, January 19th. Pisces team members enter the structure. 2004, January 19th, continued, 8:15 a.m. Pisces team leader describes the throbbing lights as like an alarm flashing. So whatever that yellow light is it's an alert light now. Now that they've got the screeching to stop, whatever the ship recognized that sonar ping to be has activated a yellow alert across the ship.
Okay.
2004, January 19th, continued, 9 a.m. Pisces team reports arriving at Aries Drop. The lighting is reported to be throbbing in the massive hall below as well. 2004, January 19th, continued. Pisces team describes finding the enormous helmet and Ackerman's footprints in the dust-covered floors. So, like, there's 2 inches of dust on the floor. So basically, it's like snow, but it's not wet. And they're walking around in this dust, right? It's a countdown. It could be a countdown. I don't know. So Like they've got this throbbing going on. They found Ackerman's footprints. That's the guy that disconnected himself. They found his footprints in the dust now. So he was there at the helmet. He made it that far before whatever. So
it's like a spaceship, but it looks like it's a helmet, and it looks like an elephant demon.
That's what the thing on the floor is that they're walking by. Yeah. So it looks like a shuttlecraft that like you'd see, it'd be the size of a shuttlecraft.
Mm-hmm.
So you walking up on it would think that it would be like something out of Star Trek. You would send an away team on.
But it was the creature that looked like the demon elephant.
The creature that wore it, yes. The helmet itself has those things built into it in order to accommodate them from the face of the creature.
Copy that. Okay.
And that's why the melted face wasn't recognizable, because if you melt an demon elephant from space, you're probably not going to recognize it.
Duh. Okay.
So, report. Okay. So 2004, January 19th continued, 9:33 a.m. Pisces team leader reports that there is an immense drop-off at the end of the hall, and Ackerman's footprints lead right off the edge.
Later, skater.
So that's what happened. He disconnected himself and jumped to his death or something. 2004, January 19th continued, 10:02 a.m. Pisces team described the drop-off as looking like a massive object had crashed through the structure at an immense speed. They described the shaft as being sparse of silver mucus. That means that something went through this at a outrageous amount of speed and completely crippled it.
Mm-hmm.
2004, January 19th continued, 10:20 a.m. Pisces team volunteered to rappel down the shaft. The team leader reports that the upward section of the shaft turns abruptly, and thus the height of the shaft cannot be determined. So it wasn't like they were going through space and some comet struck them. Something went through Pac-Man style. Something went through Dig Dug style and obliterated the guts of the ship and took left turns, right turns at a huge amount of speed.
Just totally fucking the shit up.
Mm-hmm. Completely obliterated the inside of it. 2004.
All this happened. Did all this happen like in orbit in space? Is that what caused it to crash?
It hasn't been like cleared up yet in the report. I don't even know if it ever is. I guess I didn't write disc 5. Whoops. So there is no disc 5 at the moment. Whoops.
Oh man.
I'll get to it. I promise. Before I die, I promise. So January 2004, January 19th continued, 13:44. Pisces team encounters off their Pisces team counts off their distance down the shaft at being 1,200 feet deep. So from the point where they jumped off, let alone where they've entered the mountain from, but from the point where they've jumped off, it's now been 1,200 feet down. 2004, January 19th continued, 1400. OFI orders Pisces team to hold position while additional umbilical cords are attached. So they've maxed out the line.
Yeah. They need to like start setting up forward operating bases inside there or something, like waypoints.
Mm-hmm. 2004, January 19th continued, 1406. Pisces team leader reports that they see a purple light below them. Team leader estimates another 400 feet before arriving at the light. 400 feet they got to go down before they can get to that light. That's how bright that light is, by the way.
Yeah.
2004, January 19th, 1511. Pisces team arrives at the purple light and describes an entrance to another large area. The entrance appears to be melted stone or marble. They report no black diamond corrosion, nor silver mucus at the entrance. 2004, January 19th, 1521. Pisces team leader reports that they are now weightless. Team leader describes an expansive chamber flooded with purple light. He emphasizes the immense size of the space. So you've already heard that like this 70-meter long creature and its helmet were in a gigantic hallway. Now this space is an immense size bigger than that. compared to that. So you're not even dealing with like an Uber Duber Walmart size space. Like this is like a city's worth of interior space that they're floating through. 2004, January 19th, continued. 1530. Pisces team reports that there are hundreds of the quadrupedal creatures here, all dead in various states of decay. 2004, January 19th, continued. 1545. Pisces team describes the quadrupeds as three-eyed, having no jawbone, and exposed cartilage suggests a trunk-like limb attached to the face. Team leader suggests it might be how these creatures breathe. They bear barbed tusks, like early earthly elephants, but also a curved pair of barbed horns jutting out of its forehead. 2004, January 19th, continued. 1607. Pisces team reports that the lighting in this chamber's lighting is not throbbing like the rest of the structure. The purple light is constant in this giant space. It does not throb. 2004, January 19th, continued. 1628. Pisces team leader reports that further inspection of the decaying quadrupeds is showing that their brains, located near their chest cavity, are all melted. That means that every one of these creatures, hundreds of them, their brains melted in their chests. The rest of the internal organs appear untouched by the force that melted the brain. January 2004, January 19th, 2004, 1640. OFI orders Pisces to return. 2004, January 19th, 1720. Proximity alarms begin sounding as something has crossed the security line around Katahdin Mountain. 2004, January 19th, continued. 1730. Guardsmen are witnessed abandoning their posts in terror. 2004, January 19th, continued. 1740. Commanding officers order the camp to lock down. 2004, January 19th, continued. 1749. Encounter. Please eject disk 4 and insert disk 5 that doesn't exist now. So there you go. There you go.
That's good, dude.
So I did work this into the Colossals. I did work this into the Colossals universe. The Speedster guy. Dig him up here. Hold on. Where'd you go? There you are. Speedster guy right here, high percussion. His job is to explore the interior of this ship. He was hired by the U.S. government. He and his fiance explore the inside of the ship. That's their job.
And these are the Colossals, these aliens that were...
No. The Colossals are my superhero team.
Oh, okay. Because these things are pretty colossal.
Yeah, right? Well, I chose the Colossals because... No, I chose the Colossals because I was watching old cartoons and the Impossibles came on. Do you remember the Impossibles?
Yeah.
And
so the Pixar stuff?
No, that was the old Hanna-Barbera superheroes. There were 3 of them. One of them was like Waterman and Multi-Man. And
yeah. They're really
and they were like a band.
Yep.
Yeah, they were in a band. And I was like, okay, so the Impossibles, that's a cool kind of like good Americana superhero team name, it doesn't feel too worldly. So I said the Colossals, because then I started picturing the Colossus of Rhodes and how it bridged the cultures and acted as like this gateway to quote like a different empire and stuff. So this the Colossals were born out of that. But this guy, the high percussion, he and his fiance explore the interior here because his parents were originally tasked with exploring this. His father was a astrophysicist who was brought in to explore this, and his mother was a military officer that was brought in to act as security. His mother had the ability to phase through solid objects like Kitty Pryde.
Okay.
So what happened was his father and his mother got into a fight one night, and she phased them out of reality. So the government, trying to keep this whole thing a secret, ended up taking stewardship of John Paul, JP here, John Paul Lindy, ended up taking stewardship of him and basically him becoming a child of the government. From the age of 12, he's been raised up to explore the interior of the ship.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Why don't
So
they
all
do
this-
more of that? Why doesn't the U.S. government take responsibility for more like orphans, or you know what I mean? Like, hey, let me just go in there.
Well, technically,
and,
they wouldn't be any better off. You're just trading one term for orphan for another because the government's not becoming their parent. In this regard, the military just basically kept him as like an on-base brat. And that was it.
That's
You
what I
can't
mean,
really
though.
do
Like,
that on
what if
like a
you just
large
like took
scale.
these kids? You're like, hey, like, where's your parents? Oh, they're
Well, look at that. Look at the
trying to think
peril you're
okay,
in if
and
you get
you put them in
15
the
of them.
military.
Well,
Like, you start to car them. You know what I mean? You like raise them
hold
up to
on.
be fucking
Put
mindless
15 of
machines,
them on
like
a base. You've got a problem now. So that you just can't do it. You got a daycare on a base now, and you just can't have that. That is a security issue, front, back, up and down. And so no, this is why it was a secret. He and his fiance, because what happened what happened with Emily. Emily's blind, and what she does is she sees using sonics. She's known as Echo Flight. So she flies it.
Does the thing know that she's using her echo? Like,
Yeah, that's how she moves through the ship. That's why she's an asset to them, is that she can activate doorways and shut off alarms and all this stuff as they're going through the ship. She flies at hypersonic speed, and she can visually see the light, the energy that's given off by hypercussion when he runs. So you see this energy leaving him, this ghostly energy. This is what she sees when he's running, when he activates his powers. So she can follow him through the ship when he's running at hypersonic speeds. And she flies at that. So they can move through the ship without being, overrun by demons and things like that. So now the truth behind this structure is that it is a portal to hell.
It's
the
supernatural.
Room, it is. The ship itself was developed to carry a portal to hell to the Great Attractor at the center of our galaxy, which is a gigantic black hole. If you don't know, the Great Attractor. And so they were taking that to the Great Attractor to just deposit it, not crash the ship into it. They were just going to drop it in there and be like, all right, fuck this. And what happened is when they slowed down, because you can't just like jump into a black hole, drop your shit and leave. It doesn't work like that. The event horizon would just swallow you as soon as you got there. So what they had to do is, as soon as they entered our galaxy, they had to start slowing down. And where they thought was dead space was Earth. The proto-Earth, the molten Earth. So they fused immediately. When they dropped out of subspace, they were immediately in the center of molten Earth. So the resulting explosion from that, however, stripped Mars of its surface, of its atmosphere, and resulted in the ecological collapse there that left a then tribal species to go subterranean and have since, for millions of years, lived underground in a permanent tribal status. So yeah. In my setting, all the multiverse exists, right? But it's not like there's a dozen Star Supremes out there. There's not like a dozen hypercussions and stuff.
Yeah.
The multiverse exists as a prison for Lucifer. This ship was carrying a portal to hell out of this universe. They were going to drop it into a black hole, which meant that it would have been deposited into another universe. There would have been 2 portals to hell in that universe at that point. However, what's happened is that it ended up fused into the mantle of our Earth. It's 700 miles long, by the way. That's how big this ship is. The mantle of the Earth is 700 miles deep. This ship penetrates that. That's how big this ship is. When I say super massive, I'm not talking like a deluxe bus with a bendy part. This is a big ass fucking thing. Cities fit inside this. And so the ship they were trying to, what happened is that this ended up being fused here. So like all that oogity boogity evil demon energy is concentrated on Earth where it wasn't supposed to be.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, how does this affect the psyche of the fucking planet if it's just this pure fucking evilness?
Exactly. And so on this Earth, the first 2 wars for heaven were fought here. And so at the end of the second war, Bale, the boss of Razor, this guy Razor, he's a bounty hunter from hell. Baal killed Michael, the archangel, using an armor forged from the midnight sun that Lucifer created in El Dorado,
I gotta
the
smoke
capital
some
of
more
hell.
weed. Hold on, I
Yeah.
gotta smoke some weed for this.
Yeah, I know, it's really crazy. So this is the Baal armor right here.
Because when I was first listening to this and what we were talking, it felt very like sci-fi Tom Clancy, like sci-fi like Tom Clancy, and then it just took a big fucking like right turn into like no, it's actually fucking hell and demons and and supernatural people.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's crazy, and that's so. This Baal built this armor with the help of Lucifer after Michael tore his wings off in the first war for heaven. So in my setting, Baal doesn't have his wings. He's the king of hell, but Lucifer is the god of hell. You see?
Did you see Nefarious?
No, but we did a lot of reporting on it over at Bounding, so I know it. I know of it and how it worked. Yeah.
How it worked? Oh, okay. So you saw like the whole like when the demon was like explaining.
Yeah. That was the clip that the guy brought with him when he came for the interview.
Yeah. I thought that was a really interesting movie. Like the way he was like the carpenter. We almost had you, and then the carpenter showed up, and talking about like the wills and how
the language is a little cheesy, but I understand what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I was like, that's interesting. The only thing I was bummed about the movie was like the last 5 minutes where like the homeless person was fucking like talking in that voice. You know what I mean? I was like, it would have been way cooler if the movie just ended with like no supernatural. You know what I mean? You're just like sitting there wondering, like, was he fucking for real? Was he not?
Right.
But like when it showed him like jumping bodies like a fucking Denzel Washington movie, I was like,
See, this is the thing is I sat down and I thought about a lot of this. Like, how do I marry science and magic in a way that doesn't annoy people?
Yeah.
And I found it in DC. I found it in DC's comics. So if you don't know, DC has this triangle of power. Okay. Now the triangle of power works like this. At the top is Alien, where Superman is. Okay. Now who does Superman fight all the time? That's Lex Luthor. And Lex Luthor, it has all the technology. He's got himself a fancy suit to beat up Superman. He's so technologically technoed, you know? And then Lex Luthor ends up in conflict with magic people all the time, like Faust and Doctor Strange and all this other shit. And so, but they trump Superman. Magic trumps Superman. Not that he's especially weak to it, but it affects him the same way it affects Batman. It affects him the same way it affects everybody else. He has no special protection like he does bullets.
Why hasn't Lex Luthor ever used magic on him?
I'm sure he's worked with magic people against Superman before, but Lex himself has never become a sorcerer. I think that's too close to Dr. Doom, and they didn't.
Dude, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, yo, Dr. Doom doesn't go fuck. He's like, I will learn the spells and I will wear the armor.
Well, see, that's what Doom is known for. So you go giving that to Lex, you're into some brand confusion now, especially where they have green armor, both of them. So either way, so that's a triangle of power that DC created, and it is like the most rock solid thing. So Alien beats technology, technology beats magic, magic beats Alien. That's the rule, and it works perfectly. That's why Captain Marvel is able to give Superman a run for his money. You know, that's what I really enjoyed about DC is everything always felt like it was under control. There was a power scale. With Marvel, they were like, okay, Thor can't do this week, but next week he will be able to do it. No, don't do that. And so the triangle of power kept everybody honest with how their conflicts went, at least. Whatever they did with the stories was up to them, but the fights at least had some structure to them you had to keep to. And so that's how I balanced this here. You've got all of this Lovecraftian, Tom Clancy, what the hell's going on with this spaceship from outer space thing. And then it does turn out to be a supernatural thing. But the military is still involved with it using superheroes instead of regular soldiers to continue exploring and exploiting what they find in there. So and what they find in there, again, is a portal to hell. And where's hell lead? That's that's El Dorado. It's the capital of hell. That's where Lucifer lives. That's where Baal lives.
El Dorado is where he lives?
El Dorado is the capital of hell in my setting.
Copy.
I just thought it was really poetic.
No,
yeah. I just thought it was really poetic.
I once was reading somewhere where they were like the city of pandemonium, like the capital of hell, pandemonium. I was like, is that where that fucking word comes from? It's kind of dope.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah.
And so that's what's and hell itself is another story into itself. Because when I developed all of these heroes, they weren't just built to function on a team. Each and every one of them is meant to carry their own standalone title. Each and every one of them. They all have their own expansive backstories, rogues gallery, and arcs.
Mm-hmm.
So
these fucking elephant monster motherfuckers.
Yep. And they have to do with this guy, the speedster. So what if Flash ended up dealing with Lovecraftian horrors? That's what I said. I said, what if we just take Flash and put him up against fucking Lovecraftian horrors? Space demons. Mutated space demons,
Would they be affected by the Speed Force? Like if we were really, what is your guy? He's not
he doesn't use the Speed Force. No,
he's more of like a Quicksilver. He's like running
his
within speed.
Well, here's the thing. Is I decided that all these, who likes spoilers? If anybody's a fan of the Ciderverse and the Colossals, you're about to get a giant spoiler. This lady all the way over to the right, Delilah, you see her?
Yes.
She's the mother of all superheroes in my setting. Quite literally. She's a fallen angel that fell in love with several humans throughout the thousands of years she's lived on Earth since Noah's flood.
Mm-hmm.
And she's had children with them. Instead of them turning into Nephilim, though, and being these terrible evil giants that, again, are part of another story in my setting, Delilah gave birth to, like, what would be the Greek gods, these super-powered human beings that had a mortal lifespan, but had unbelievable capabilities. And so Hypercussion's speed is magical. He doesn't obey physics. So he can technically, like, speed up infinitely. And that's what happens to him later on in the story, this first Colossals adventure. And that's how, in my setting, that's how you travel between universes with speed. You don't travel between universes vibrating and that kind of thing. Because I wanted to be different than DC. I wanted to have a little bit of different things. So, how many children does Delilah have? I would probably put it up where somewhere between 2,000-3,000 children. She's been on Earth for about 12,000 years.
She's got a body count.
Yeah, quite, and still counting because she's an immortal. This is one of the things I wanted to do. Is I wanted to create like a really interesting Sorcerer Supreme. So that's what Delilah is. My characters live in Maine, by the way. So, because I wanted them to be different. Everybody's in fucking New York. Everybody and their brother's in fucking New York. So the Delilah runs an antique store in Bangor, but it has a spell on it that you don't remember it after you look at it. You know, in Doctor Who, the silence, it's like that. Okay. So after you look at her shop, you look away from it, you don't remember it. You don't think of it. So you just keep going. You're like, what was I looking at? Oh yeah, never mind. You keep going. So what's inside of that though are books that are prisons for all of the previous magical users that she couldn't reason with to stop causing chaos. And Delilah, over the thousands of years, has systematically removed magic from the world. Because in my setting, it only has a few fundamental rules. That's it. Everything else about magic is unrestricted. So it had to be controlled. And so Delilah ended up going all over the place. So you end up having like this woman who keeps appearing through time. So what she does is she transfers ownership of her copyright to the Xerox machines. So she bought into the Xerox machines when they were first being developed, and that's what pays for her lifestyle, is the returns on her like stock ownings of Xerox that she transfers to her granddaughters every 60 years. And so Delilah goes around telling people that when she gets like pinned down, having like to admit her backstory, she still doesn't admit it. The story she tells people is that she's an immortal princess from the era of when Spain occupied Leon. So this is around the time of the 1200s, and that her father ordered all the gypsies in the kingdom to be murdered. And the last remaining gypsy cursed her to live to outlive everything she loved. And her curse now was that she had fallen in love with life itself. And that's what she tells people, but that's a lie. She's a fallen angel. But that's the lie she tells people, is that she's this cursed Spanish princess that can never die because she loves life itself. Yeah, well, she's a fallen angel, dude. So, I mean, I would hope.
Liar. She's a liar.
Yeah, and that's, so that's Delilah in my setting. She closed the return gates to heaven, meaning you can get in, but you can't get back out.
That's okay, right? Or is like
no, because the angels can't get out to enforce God's will, so all
that.
sorts of horrible chaos is spilled out. Superheroes being one of them.
Did you ever see that Will Smith movie where he was like a superhero?
Yeah, it was Hancock.
Hancock. Yeah.
Yep.
I always thought, I was like watching that. They never explain it, but I was like, yeah, that almost looks biblical.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm like, that's
has
like
some touches of it.
Yeah.
Well, see,
yeah. Where I'm like,
did...
yeah, they're not like aliens or something. They're like old Babylonian, Sumerian shit. You know what I mean? Like angels. That's kind of what I was like. If they come out with a sequel, they're gonna be like Nephilim or something.
And again, like the Nephilim in my setting, like I created this one. This is funny because Liam told me that he had a deal with a seinen manga publisher. Now seinen is like manga for adults. It's not porn, but it's like Columbo to the Justice League, if you will, right? It's a more grounded adult themed story. So you're not necessarily having characters punch giants in the face and then they win. There's a little more consequence. Berserk is a seinen manga. You've heard of Berserk?
Yes.
Okay. So Liam told me he had a publisher in Japan that was ready to do this, ready to roll, and he needed stuff to send him. He says, "Put together a proposal, and I'll get it going. You get the art going, and we'll get it sent over, and we'll do it together." So okay, that's great.
Did you see any back and forth with these people, or was it just Liam doing it all?
See, I'm dumb, Matt. I believe people when they tell me things because I'm one of those like country fried idiots. It's like, why would anybody lie?
See, that's what I feel like, not to like turn into like a Liam thing, but I feel like that's what happened with him and Vinny. Like Vinny, the way Vinny talked, he really believed like he was going to be drawing Spider-Man. And Liam was like controlling and talking to Marvel.
Yeah, that's how he goes.
And,
that's how
and
he
the
did
whole
it to
time
me.
I'm going, holy shit, like fucking Joe Quesada did what? That Jay Zazinski guy fucking snaked it? Like, what the fuck? That's crazy. So did you meet them? Oh,
No.
you didn't? Oh, so did you go to the Marvel offices and like show them your port? Oh,
Nope.
you didn't. Okay. Liam talked to you? Okay.
Yep.
All right. And it was just like, I was like, dude, what the I didn't say it, but I was like, what the fuck, bro? Like, why did you ask these questions? Anyways.
And then those 3,000 went out to have more babies and more. And that's why the world ended up chock full of super-powered people and weirdos. See, in my setting, in the first two pages of the first 8 pages of the Colossals, you see regular citizens that are purple, that have like flipper hands and stuff like that. They have purple flesh and blue flesh, and they have like children and stuff that are just walking around doing things. Yeah. In my setting, it's just how it happened. Delilah had so many children and they had so many variances in their, like the expression of their super abilities that some people only just ended up like purple. That was it. Some people only ended up with like flipper hands. That was it. Yep. But Liam, anyway, back to that story. Liam had tasked me with putting that together, and so I came up with Apocryphion. And I made it look all fancy because he showed me how his proposals looked, and I tried to copy them, make it look really neat. So I came up with Apocryphion, and it's a mixture of Theon, which is the spear tip from the the Roman Greek times when they had the fancy formations, and then Apocrypha, which are the parts of the Bible that nobody's allowed to talk about because they're weird and have spaceships in them.
Like the Enoch shit, right?
Yeah, it's really, the Book of Enoch. Yep. Frustrated by a world gone awry, God creates a divine man known only as Merlin and sends him to Earth with the sacred and singular duty of cleansing this world of corruption. Merlin's quest leads him across Albion, which is in ancient Britain, liberating his fellow man from the tyrannical rule of evil giants known as Nephilim, the unholy children of man and fallen angels. Merlin's task is complicated that much further when he discovers that seeds from the tree of knowledge have been brought to Albion, and the Nephilim seek to obtain godhood by consuming the fruit from the tree. In Apocryphy on Original Sin, Merlin receives the blade of his birthright, a sword made from the fires of the sun, to assist in his siege on the ruling Nephilim in his home city of Diva. The calamity of this conflict attracts the powerful allies, an alien woman named Freyan, and an enigmatic sorceress named Delilah. The trio discover that there is a tree of knowledge growing in the north, and that the journey there is thick with every manner of nightmare and temptation imaginable. Merlin must not only survive the passage to the land where the white wind forks, he must also retain his divine purity, as fallen angels near and far seek the purity of this son of Adam. Original Sin's story is about freedom, honor, divine justice, and a man's battle to fulfill his God-given purpose. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I like it. I'm sitting here drawing your monsters.
Neat. But so Freyan is the precursor to Star Supreme. It's all tied together. I took a long time to weave everything together like a very nice blanket, very nice tapestry. All these threads move together in and out of each other. What I did is I sat down and I looked at 100 years of DC's comic publication, and I said, what do I get out of this? What's the distillation from it? And what I discovered was having worlds that are interconnected but not interdependent is how to do this. So you have people that can call each other for help, but otherwise have perfectly valid reasons for not overlapping. Star Supreme has no business in that giant spaceship. Her power set would make it like a 10-minute mission to find out what the hell's going on with this ship. So it's totally useless. Having a speedster that cannot just bullet through the ship to find the problem, that makes a much more challenging adventure and a much more higher stakes as well. So meanwhile, you can't throw her into that. You can't throw Delilah in it because she's got all this magic. So all she has to do is cast a spell and there's no more obstacles. That you can have perfectly legitimate reasons for people not to be overlapping with each other.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a spider weaving their web.
You got a little bit of OP in there.
Well, that's the point of these characters. All of DC's heroes are OP, if you didn't notice. They're ridiculously overpowered, all of them. Every last one. Dr. Fate could just ace all of the Justice League in an afternoon. Most of that time would be hunting them down to kill them. You want to talk about OP, right? So what I did is I said, what if we just have an aspirational future? What if all this calamity and complication is happening to people who are seeking the light, who want to be good people, who are unencumbered by the challenges of regret? And that's what I said. Let's take what we learned from Marvel's stories outside your window and combine it with DC's hometown heroes that rescue cats from trees. Let's take that gentle Americana that made superheroes great in the World War II and 50s era, the superhero you could walk up to on the street, and combine it with the hero that's fighting all this crazy space shit and all this demon shit and all this weird magical bullshit that has nothing to do with them but is raining down in their head. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to see people that go through these horrible challenges and choose to be better than those challenges.
I like that.
And that's what all of them are. Razor has a backstory where his sister was an attempted kidnapping of her on their walk home from an arcade. It's a very Batman story.
Oh, shit.
Human traffickers tried to kidnap her, but they ended up killing her in the process. They didn't want him. They hit him in the back of the head with a crowbar. But what his power was, because he's a descendant of Delilah, despite being a first-generation Japanese, Razor, his power was the ability to speak the language of the demons, Epash. I made up a language for demons and angels. But he could speak Epash, and so he asked Baal for the power of ultimate revenge. And that's what led him into becoming the bounty hunter for Baal, was how much rage this little kid could like muster up. And then as an adult, he's the reason why I named him Razor was that it was supposed to be like, when you raise a village, when you like the Vikings would go in and
the ground.
Right, just burn it all to the ground. But the problem is that's spelled Raze, raise. And if you spell it Razer, people think you misspelled like a shaving razor. So I was like, oh, that's not going to work. So I went with Hellraiser and I took off the hell part. And so he's just Razor. And it just sounded cool. So, but that's that, But that's his backstory is he sold his soul to the devil to get revenge for the people who killed his sister in front of him.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's, all of these characters are based on horrible things that happened in my life. My sister didn't get killed in front of me. A little girl who was supposed to be adopted by my family was won in a bidding war, basically, with a different family. And this was back. War. Basically, what happened is that this family was like better equipped to deal with this child as far as training goes, and that was it.
Wow.
And so they won her in the bidding war, if you will, of who could adopt this kid. And so my sister, I call her my sister. What happened is that this is back when they didn't care about kids in the system, right? They just do whatever. So she lived like one house up the street from me. And so my parents, seeing us get along together, had decided to explore trying to adopt her. And we had been like, what would happen is that we would go to the other person's house to make breakfast in the morning on school days. It was my day to go to her house to make breakfast for her family. So I was on my way up to see her, and a blue van pulled into her yard before I got there. And as I was coming up to the edge of her driveway, these two guys went into her, got out of the van, went into the place, and came back out with her, holding her by her wrist and her ankles while she was still wearing her PJs.
What?
And they put her in the back of that blue van. And before they shut the door, the last thing she said to me was, "Don't let them take me." I was 5 when this happened. And so I didn't see her for 19 years. And I looked for her every day. I looked for her for the phone book. When we got the internet, I Googled her every day. When I got MySpace, I MySpaced her every day. It wasn't until I found her in a Call of Duty Facebook group 19 years after that door shut in my face.
Wow.
That I found her. And she immediately came home to my family. Left her adopted family in the dust and came to us. And so Razor is based on all of the self-hatred, the anger, this little guy, this little 5-year-old had inside of him when he realized his sister was gone forever. And Razor is the character that would have stopped that van. And that's just an example of who the heroes I have are, the characters that I created are based on. Are you still friends? Yeah, she talks to me every day. She's got a little boy, and he's my nephew. And I don't see him that often because he's really busy and they live like an hour away. He's a little busy guy. But, they're in my life. Yeah.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
That's amazing, dude.
So all these characters are based out of terrible things. Like Star Supreme. When I had my surgery, first time when they like decoloned me, I woke up at 2 a.m. in the morning. In a completely black room, just completely blacked out. All I had was like the light from the oxygen monitor they put on your finger, that thing. And all I had was that. That was it. The rest of the room was dark. The machines were turned away from me so I could sleep. So yeah, I didn't even have those, like the glow of the screens of the light monitors.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I was just like in a black void, man. I didn't know where the hell I was.
You're like, am I fucking dead? Like,
And so I couldn't move because I was like waking up from a surgery where they took out a major organ, right? So I was just like numb all over. And so I'm like weakly moving my finger around using the light from the oxygen monitor, the red light as a flashlight. And I feel a hose coming out of my abdomen.
Ah, fuck.
And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What are you? And so I lift the nightgown, I shine a light, and there's a see-through plastic tube. It's about as thick as your thumb, plugged right into what is my exposed intestine, now exhausted out the front of me like a tailpipe, or front pipe, I guess. and there's just black ichor coming out of that pipe down into a duffel bag sized biohazard bag on the floor.
So what do you do when you see that? Do you just kind of like lower the blanket back down? Right?
No,
I mean, are you just like, okay.
To be honest with you, Matt, I asked God to kill me.
Oh my God, dude.
I prayed to God that because my life was over. I said, there's no way I can recover from this. This isn't life. But they lied to me that I was going to be good after this. That's what the doctors did. They told me everything was going to be great. I'd be able to climb mountains and swim and do all that stuff. Nope. Turns out the body doesn't like it when you take out major organs. Kind of needs those.
Yeah.
But what happened is that as I was there, like asking God to kill me, I wanted to die in that moment. A metaphorical hand reached out to take mine. And that hand came with like, not a message I heard in my ears, but a message I heard in my soul. And that message said, there, now you won't fall any further, but you have to climb back out. And that was Star Supreme. I didn't know her then, but I would come to know her later on throughout the different surgeries I had and the kind of like faith I had to have in that message that I could climb out of this myself. It took the form of this character. And so that's where Star Supreme came from. At my lowest point, Star Supreme reached out and saved my life. I treat her as my daughter. She has like my mother's hair and her eye color and her nickname from high school. My mother's nickname in high school was Star. And so Star Supreme carries like she's kind of like my daughter in that she looks like my mom, so it's like kind of like a granddaughter situation.
Uh-huh.
Damn. So yeah.
I like that you're incorporating all this stuff rather than letting it bring you down.
Well, I have a saying. I turn my demons into angels. And that's what all these characters are, is every terrible thing that's happened has been turned into an angel. Every tale that should have crushed me, I have turned over onto its head into a tale of inspiration.
Because what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're not going to quit, dude.
Well, and
I'm
I found
totally
a way
listening.
To express...
I'm not listening to you. I'm sitting here drawing your monster. So
no, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent a good yarn. Well, I there's a saying that says 100 bad days make 100 good stories, and 100 good stories make you interesting at parties. That's the way it goes. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, I even found a way to explore like all these feelings of being isolated from humanity. Shadow Spinner, although female, is my feeling of being a monster. Like I have false teeth. Like a quarter of my face is plaster because of how this disease has eaten away at my biology. And like Shadow Spinner, she's bald. She has giant spider legs coming out of her back and vampire fangs. She's like Nosferatu with the iron spider legs if they were real,
Yeah.
And she was abandoned by her birth mother when her birth mother discovered her. She was born in like a sack. And when they broke open the sack, there was giant spider legs were the first things to emerge. Yeah. Then a child that had like pointed ears and fangs. So she was abandoned with her grandfather, who has like the look of a Japanese Oni. This has all happened in Siberia, by the way. And so this is very rural Siberia. So this guy leads a death cult that goes around killing magical creatures. And what he found was that Shadow Spinner can eat magic. And so what he would do is that he would capture these magical creatures, whatever they were, he would torture them for sport in front of his cult. And then he would throw them into this catacomb where he kept her trapped. So the first 7 years of her life, she spent as a cannibal.
Fuck.
And so Star Supreme, in an effort, was finally sent by the UN to deal with this guy. And so she goes in and just melts the top of the mountain using her Nova vision. She melts the top of the mountain off where this guy was hiding. And then she beats the hell out of him. And in the process of beating him, she notices this small hand. I have a little comic of it somewhere. Just a second. It was one of the test pages I worked with the artist I hired on. So, oh boy, come on. Don't do this to me. I'm looking cool. Everybody thinks I'm cool. Come on.
You are, man.
So I had the artist work on No, not gonna get it, huh? Can't. All right. Well, anyway, so a hand is like coming out from the shadows and drawing a heart made out of blood with a star inside of the heart.
Are you showing this?
Well, no, I can't because I can't find the picture at the moment. I don't know where I put it. So, that's the trouble with live presentation. Can't dig it up right off. Oh, here, no, never mind. I found it. Hold on. Open it up in the wrong program. I'm a genius. So I had, I forget who this guy was that did Tonks. I had Tonks do this. So here it is. There. That's the first meeting. That's Shadow Spinner. I did the lettering, so it looks like shit. So that's the first meeting of Shadow Spinner and Star Supreme. And this is what Leandro did with it. I asked him to use the legs to create the different paneling.
Mm.
And so there she is upside down like Spider-Man, right?
Yep. I see it.
Yep. And so she says, my birth mother rejected me. And hold on, I can make this better. There we go. And she abandoned me with my grandfather. And he trapped me in an ancient cave system. See, looks like the devil, dude, like Trigon.
Yeah. Oh my God. Just fucking here. Eat some
eating
meat.
a hand. Yep.
Some hands.
Yep. That is where he used me to dispose of the bodies left over from his torture games. I had no hope. And then she says, I remember there was yelling one day. The whole ceiling melted away. The sun was blinding to me, but I could see her clearly. And then, of course, you gotta go. And so you see where she melted the cave side, right? See what's melting down here. You see all these staircases and stuff inside of the mountain. And she's beating the hell out of the demon man. And it says, my true mother, the one who would love me forever. And she's drawing a heart in blood.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final panel there, you see Star Supreme carrying the child, and it says, you're safe now. I'll never let you go. So she took me away from my prison and gave me a name. She gave me her family and her home. And 2 years later, see, Mommy, I could save the day now, too. She's wearing a Star Supreme t-shirt. It says, but Eliza Valentine, you saved my day every day. Star Supreme telling her. Because of her, I will never wonder if I am loved.
This is you? Are you the little ball-headed kid?
No, this is just that expression of feeling monstrous. It's how, it's not me directly. It's that feeling of being monstrous and having only a select handful of people that can penetrate that feeling.
I hear you, man. Okay.
Yep. And Isaac is another expression of that. He's Star Supreme's adopted son. He's the soul of a little boy trapped inside of a robot body. And this is my feeling of being constructed out of plastic. Like I got false teeth, I got plastic ureters, I've got those are the little noodle things that connect your kidneys to your bladder. I got plastic, those things, and I got this bag that, catches my poop. And I feel very like artificial. I make the joke that I'm more plastic than man. And that's that expression.
So are you almost $1 million man? Are you like a $6 million man?
Adjusted for inflation, I'm probably $1 million man. Yeah. Adjusted for inflation.
Like, where the fuck are my robot legs, man?
Yeah, right. I need that eyeball that can see through shit, man. Come on. Get with it. But yeah, that's what Isaac is he's that expression of being machine and having like this barrier between you and the natural world. So
are these organs that can't be like transplanted and stuff? Like,
well, you see, the human digestive system has a very specific bacteria to it, right?
Okay.
And so the specific bacteria means that like if you go plug in somebody else's butthole into somebody new, it may not go very well. In fact, it probably won't go very well. But what they've found success with is using the skin stem cells. You remember those things? Just regular old skin stem cells. Like smearing that like peanut butter on pig intestines and then connecting that up onto a human.
Okay.
And that apparently seems to work. you can get like pig farts. That seems to be the only side effect is you get pig farts and you're good to go. I'm not interested in that. I accepted my fate. This is it for the rest of my life.
You're basically getting chitlins.
But
like,
at that point, yeah, you
get fucking chitlins installed in you.
But I've accepted that I'm not going to get reconnected. I don't want to. I think it's too dangerous, especially at this point. I probably in my lifetime won't see a time when it's safe to do. And the other thing is that I've had 8 abdominal reconstructions. I got to go in for my 9th next year, and those leave a shit ton of scar tissue. So you go slamming a bunch of intestines back into space that ain't had them in there since 2016. I don't think that's going to go well. You know? So, and it's just one of those things, right? You know, what are you going to do?
It is, yeah, dude. I know. That's, bro. It's rough.
Yeah, you just got to live with it. That's the thing. That's what I've decided. You just got to live with it. There's no other choice.
There isn't.
A lot of people online there's like support groups all over Facebook about this, and a lot of people online just sort of settle into like a librarian style of life. They're sort of
you do
scholars.
a lot of videos. You do a lot of like assisting with the streams with JDA and stuff. Yeah. Like, yeah, you're very like Oracle, you know.
That's kind of what we settle into, because like I can't go out and play tennis. I will like snap in half doing that. I don't have any muscles in the front of me to keep me from like folding in half when I try to leap for that ball, you know?
Yeah. Fuck.
So that's
like fucking Mr. Glass, dude.
Well, it's pretty close. I'll tell you what. I can laugh myself into a situation where I have to go to the ER. So
all right.
I got a hernia too. That's the fun part, is I got a fancy hernia like a unicorn coming right out of the center of my abdomen, right underneath my sternum. It's neat. Fun. I love it. But that's just that, you know, so Shadow Spinner and Isaac are like the expression of that physical limitation. And Hypercussion is this expression of the desire to reconnect with Maine, to be part of Maine. And I chose that to be a black guy because I said I don't like to give into these tropes that all black people are inner city. That black people are always talking like they're rap artists anywhere they are in the world. And I just didn't like that because I grew up around people that weren't like that at all. The black people in Maine, how few they are, do not act any differently. They got their jacked up trucks, the Carhartt jackets, the big old steel-toed boots. They're indistinguishable from their white counterparts. And so that's what I wanted to do with JP, is I just wanted him to be like this amateur artist that just goes around doing speedster stuff, and his blind girlfriend, and they're trying to put a family together. They're trying to like settle down after like all of these years of emotional abuse from adults and military and things like that. And so they're trying to learn how to trust each other as they're being superheroes, as they're exploring this giant spaceship together. You know, and that's what I wanted, like the reconnection with Maine to be there. So they would go canoeing, they would go to the lighthouses, various tourist attractions, that sort of thing, as they improved this romantic bond as opposed to like the work bond that they had been trained to have since
there's
children.
other superheroes doing other stuff. It's not like while they're fucking with this spaceship, like their neighborhood is totally going to shit.
Exactly. There's tons of superheroes. The Colossals in this setting are just the most powerful in this world, or at least the closest connected to Star Supreme, if you will. And because they're all friends and family of her. Hypercussion is her cousin by adoption. She's adopted by black homesteaders. And so his mother is the sister to Star Supreme's mother. And Star Supreme's adopted mother couldn't have children because as a child, she was run over by a boat. So she was swimming on a lake and a boat went over and like gutted her.
Jeez Louise.
And so she wasn't able to have children. And it wasn't until the baby was dropped off on their doorstep by Star Supreme's biological father, Roaz. He dropped her off on the doorstep to prove a point to, I'll get into it, but he dropped her off on the doorstep to the Langleys. That's who these people are. Martin and Fiona are the adopted parents of Star Supreme. And the Langleys are black homesteaders. And so they had committed themselves to just not having children. They had given up on that. And so they lived on Martin's family homestead that his great great grandfather had put together as an escaped slave. And a bullet from Harriet Tubman's gun is in their foyer.
Wow.
They have it on display in there. And the Martin, he ended up being the steward of the homestead because his brother was killed in Portland, Maine in a robbery. And he ended up being the steward at that point. He was going to school for film, which is where he met Fiona, and they met together at a memorial marathon of Gilligan's Island after the captain died. So all of it had I've developed these intense backstories for everybody.
Yes,
everything
dude.
has like its own seeds and roots and everything. So if I want to tell a Star Supreme story where she's just hanging around on the homestead, I've got all of this to like discuss with her as she's like a little teenage girl being educated by her father on where her family comes from. You know? And that's one of the things I loved about Clark. I love Superman. I grew up with Superman. Superman was my first
Superman's
superhero.
cool. The older I get, the more I like him. When I was younger,
Yeah.
I was like, Superman, whatever. But like as I got older, I was like,
I like this guy.
I like him. And it's like, man, it'd be so hard to fucking write for him or do anything for him because he's so OP. He's just constantly holding back.
Leandro Paganiban, he's doing the Colossal series. Right now he's doing part 2, which is the continuation of part 1 that was sold last year. Yeah, but that was still when my sister was taken away, right? That story I told you about the van closing.
Yeah.
About 2 weeks after that, I was wandering around Holton, Maine, which is where I grew up, and my parents owned a taxi service that was based out of like a storefront in downtown. And so I was free to, this was back when you could let your 5-year-old, 6-year-old walk around town and nobody was going to scoop them up and run away with them. And so I was wandering around town and I found my way to the comic book shop. And what it was Shiretown Comics and Collectibles is what it was. It was run by a man named Ernie. And when I walked in there, he saw me looking at stuff, but he saw I was really sad. He just saw that there was just like something missing. And there's no reason for a little kid to be that sad.
Hey, kid,
So-
what's wrong with you?
Well, he leaned over his counter and he said, "Hey, pal, have you met my friend Superman?" And he points up to the ceiling. And on the ceiling is a cardboard cutout of Superman in the flying pose, and he's winking down at you. And I was just mesmerized by that. And then he goes to the top shelf and he brings down this dusty plastic bagged, not like a grocery bag, but it's like the comic book bag, Superman Action Comics #1. Now, I don't know if this is a real, Aldous corrected me on this. It's probably not a first edition, but he treated it like that. And so he let me and my little peanut butter stained fingers go through that book on the floor of his comic book shop. And from that point on, I couldn't get enough Superman. I read every Superman thing I could get a hold of because Superman to me wasn't the guy in the cape with the S on his chest. The best part about Superman to me was Clark.
Yeah.
Was that guy that went home on the farm and put the posts in the ground, the fence posts in the ground with a hammer like everybody else. He didn't just slap them into place because he could. And that's the kind of Superman that I put into Star Supreme. That was the inspiration that I took out of that, was that down home country fried Americana, be home for dinner.
They just missed that. They totally missed that.
Yep.
He is so corn-fed Midwest. And it's funny because it's like I met them. I've met those guys, like just straight up Christian. Like Clark Kent would be a Christian. I mean, I guess if he'd be like, holy shit, but I think he would be raised like in the church and shit, being Midwest.
For sure. That used to be part of his story. But I mean, he was created by Jews. So I mean, it's up in the air on what they felt about him. But either way, he became a Christian symbol for a while. I don't know if
there
he
was
is now,
definitely
but he was for a
religious.
while.
I mean, there was definitely some religion within.
Oh, absolutely. The story of
upbringing.
Moses is the story of Superman. Mine's a little different. So what I did with Star Supreme is I mentioned Freyan earlier in that Apocryphion thing. So what I did with Star Supreme is I fused two souls together. What happened with her is that Freyan was like a character that wanted to take over the world. She didn't want to rule the planet, though. She wanted to be worshipped like a god.
Mm-hmm.
And so over time, she continued to conquer lands. And in my setting, she stopped the Pearl Harbor invasion because FDR was going to use the nuke on her people, the Erdatans. In my
Hell
setting,
yeah.
in my
Nuke 'em.
setting, there's like 400 of them that survived the destruction of their planet, but they're all radiation sick. And Star Supreme and Freyan are the only two that didn't end up sick. So they evolved rather than got sick. Third helix DNA, remember?
Yeah.
Third helix. And so Star Supreme is Freyan. Here's the tricky part. So what happened was Delilah, seeing that Freyan was going to take over the world, tricked her father into reducing her into a child using a machine that had magical components that de-aged her and separated her soul from her body. The purpose of this was to show Freyan how humans are fragile, how they must be protected, and how they will eventually fear her, and that she should stay away from them. So this way they were going to like teach Freyan that ruling over humans wasn't worth it. And so they imprisoned her in a crystal chamber, her soul in a crystal chamber, and forced her to watch as Sky grew up in her body. Sky is the name of the child, by the way. That's what the Langleys named the child. Is Sky Blue was her name. Is her name. That's the name of Star Supreme. What the problem was is that a tiny spark of Freyan's soul remained behind. And that spark was the desire to help people, the desire to aid humanity, to not necessarily lead them, but to make sure they didn't fall. And that grew into a whole soul. It grew up into a whole being of its own. Finally, when they met, and again, this gets into more lore and it's not worth it. But when they finally met, they're upon like Star Supreme touching Sky, touching the crystal, they fused back together again. And that's what created the Star Supreme you see. This 6'4" kind of muscular looking Amazon woman. That's the power of those two life forces trying to be contained in one body. Now, the force of this union is like the H-bomb that went off in Hiroshima. So when they fuse, it decimates a city. It has the power to decimate a city. And there's two souls inside of her. And that's not two souls in like this weird gay thing. It's like from Dragon Ball Z with Vegeta and Goku. There's two consciousnesses inside of her. But Sky is the one that's piloting the body. Firestorm is probably a better example.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is it kind of like Firestorm? Okay.
But it's not like voluntary. They're stuck together. So at every point during the day, Sky has Freyan judging her in the back of the mind, and also like all the memories of the horrible atrocities that Freyan committed. They're still accessible to Sky and haunt her. So I have this character that is beloved by the modern world. Star Supreme is beloved. In the original setting that I introduced her in, you familiar with the California West Coast Route 5, the road called Route 5? It connects Malibu all the way up to the Canadian border, basically.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I might have driven on it. I drove from
It's really not. It's only geological.
San Jose to fucking Santa Cruz one time on a cool road.
It's only important because of the location of it. But basically what happens is that in 2020, an earthquake happens that shatters the entire Pacific Rim. And so what happens is the San Andreas fault line acts as like a striker pin and shatters the rim. And so Hawaii is lost when a fractured piece of the new tectonic plates made by the fragmentation event, it flips. So Hawaii is completely erased, just completely sent down. So Star Supreme interferes with this whole event and saves like 12,000 people through her actions. And so she becomes known as like she's beloved as a teenager for doing this. This happens when she's a teenager. So she saves all these people during the Cataclysm. You'll hear that in the trailer for the Colossals, the Cataclysm. This is that event. Cali as in California. Cataclysm. Yep. And so what happened with Star Supreme at that point is that she became like this globally renowned figure. She saved lives and she managed to like show off all of her powers and that sort of thing in the process. And so she was introduced to the world through this way. So you have a character who's beloved by the modern world. And then Freyan, who's the other part of her, she shares the face of. by the way. This character is so hated by the ancient world, by everything that predates America, basically. And so this is the dichotomy I have with this character, is that the things that make life fun love her, but the things that make life difficult hate her, if you will. So again, I tried to create a character that had more to her than just like, oh, she hits stuff really hard. Good for her. She can punch stuff super hard. She's Superman's story. The best Superman stories are when he's like morally challenged.
Yeah.
You don't Superman stories where he has to lift a heavy thing. It's not interesting. It's when his morals are put to the test. When he has to either think of a way around this moral problem or reason with the person. It's like people give me this one. They're like, well, what about Superman versus Molecule Man? Okay, sorry, they're not going to fight. Clark's going to immediately notice that the Molecule Man is freaking lonely and desperate for friends, and they're going to sit down and have a 10,000-year chess match. That Clark is not going to fight the Molecule Man. He's going to try and make friends with him. He's going to try and answer that loneliness he hears inside of him. That's the point of Superman, is to have all this godly power and not use it, and instead use your heart, use your soul.
That's what makes him super.
Exactly. He's an aspirational hero. And that's what Star Supreme is. Her stories are not about punching something as hard as you can. Her stories are about finding a way to reason with whatever evil you've encountered so that it's not evil anymore. And if you have to, erase it at that point. But do everything you can up until that point to save it. But, that's why she adopts a little spider girl with, pointed ears and all this stuff, I have this cute picture of them that I had. Your doodle bags? You ever hear of doodle bags?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so he's an artist that worked with War Campaign for a while. He's in the military now. Good guy, real good kid. But he did this for me. And this is Star Supreme and Shadow Spinner. And a little story about Shadow Spinner is that she has a you have a good head. Yeah, it's a little bumpy, but yeah. But so Shadow Spinner, a little side story about her. She was feral when Star Supreme first brought her home. And so all they knew about her was her first name being Eliza. That's what her grandfather called her, was Eliza. And so they called her Eliza Valentine because she came home on Valentine's Day. And so at first she stayed inside the Langley's barn at their homestead and wouldn't come out. She stayed up in the rafters, a creepy spider kid. Won't come down out of the rafters. And what brought her down was a chocolate shake and garlic knots. And so that's been her favorite food since she arrived with the Langleys. And so this picture is depicting an event where she ate too many garlic knots and got a stomachache.
Oh, garlic knots sound good right now, dude.
Right? See, I know how to write, man. I know how to write, right? So you're thinking about, man, I would totally stop being a feral child for garlic knots.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe one time, you're like, oh, they sound so good when you order them, but when they get here, you're like,
you can't let them cool down. That's the thing. You can't let them cool down.
No,
you only have them hot. You can kill a man after they've hardened. You can beat a man to death with them. And then I had this one done by a manga artist I found on Twitter. And this one's depicting Star Supreme and Isaac in the bathroom just off the kitchen in their home. They live with the other Langleys with their parents. And Isaac has a faceplate. He doesn't have a mouth. So like Optimus Prime, he doesn't have a mouth. Well, the proper Optimus. He doesn't have a mouth. His little faceplate moves up and down when he talks. That's it. And so he felt very isolated from the other children who were laughing and playing. And so Star Supreme took him into this side bathroom and drew a smile on his face with a marker. So he could smile like the other kids.
Oh, that's sweet.
And that's why his wings are out, because he's all like, I can smile? Look, I'm smiling. You know?
He should carry the marker with him, and then that could be something in the story.
Oh, sure.
Does he have the marker with him? Because sometimes he could do fucking sharp teeth, like he's angry, or fucking you
Just
know what I
draw
mean?
angry eyebrows on, like
Chiba, yeah, like kind of Chiba him, it out,
Yeah.
like kind of emoticon his face.
Yeah. Isaac has his own little side adventure where he creates the Junior Colossals, and he meets a girlfriend who goes on to be his wife in later stories, and that could be helpful for their little dates where he's like drawing faces on
Yeah, it's
himself.
total
That would make sense.
comedic.
Yeah, it's a good
Because sometimes in
tension
anime
breaker.
they have the little chibi weeby, like fakey little things.
Yeah.
It's kind of a way to like incorporate it without it being like, but where it's like obvious that it's like a drawing. You know what I'm saying? Like you're kind of leaning into the fact that it is a drawing, but you're also using it to emote.
Yeah. And again, like that would be great for their little dates. So he
Yeah.
could like, because he's self-conscious that he can't emote to her, right? That she won't know that he likes her and stuff like that. I could see the whole dialogue happening right now. But that's just it. And Isaac meets her when he's sent to detention for flying through school when he's late one day. There's no flying. And he goes to a school called Extreme Concepts. And Extreme Concepts is like a school for superhero kids. And in detention, he meets his girlfriend and these 3 other kids. Glam, Kelvin, and Jack with a Q. And they make up their own little team where they like have a curfew and they have to go solve a crime before their curfew. So it's like a little What's New Scooby-Doo thing.
Right.
Little, pup named Scooby-Doo stories where it's just little 14, 15-year-old superheroes trying to show off to their superhero predecessors. Look what I can do. Harmless. Because that's what I kind of have a problem with My Hero Academia over, is it's like really over the top with the violence and the violent concepts. I don't hate it. I just think like, man, that's a really tough sell to the moms of America. Like this
I haven't
really,
read any of it, so I don't.
it's
I'm not
good,
really...
but I mean, it's really made. I mean, it's good in the first 2 chapters. I think the writer's a hack because he's trying to copy Marvel so hard. But
really?
Yeah, after the first 2 seasons of the anime, you can really, and the manga itself, you can really feel the guy like, please Marvel, notice me, as he's like almost one for oneing. Huh?
He's like, come hire me.
Yeah, he wants his MCU treatment, is what he wants. He wants his characters to get the MCU treatment. So he's trying to make that. He like put trans people in his story and he gay baits all the time with the 2 lead characters. It's annoying as hell. And it's just one of the things that I found irritating about it. So that's what I did with Isaac, is I said, hey, let's just tell like an adventure of a little boy and he's meeting his friends and they're going to go out and they're going to have little dumb Scooby-Doo adventures. And that's it. It's not going to have like some greater emotional impact. They're not going to have Vietnam flashbacks. They're going to be like,
oh man.
Yeah, I know, right? Darn, 14-year-olds that have trauma. Geez, that's just what I need my superheroes. No. He's got enough trauma.
I've seen things, man.
He's got enough trauma anyway. Like in his original story, like how Star Supreme met Shadow Spinner, Isaac was created by terrorists to kill her. That node on the top of his head, that War of the Worlds node thing, that's a neutron laser. And she has protons saturating her cells and DNA structure. That's how she's super powerful. Unlike Superman, who just somehow metabolizes solar radiation into superpowers, Star Supreme's cells are quite literally absorbing protons and thus becoming supercharged. And so the neutron laser on his forehead was originally developed to kill her. But being a good little boy, his goodness overwhelmed the programming of the robot suit. And just before his batteries gave out, he begged Star Supreme to keep him safe because he'd never fallen asleep in his life.
Oh.
And so every night before he goes to sleep, Star Supreme sits with him and lets him fall asleep knowing that she watches over him.
Watching you sleep, little buddy.
Yeah. Because he's a little boy. That's the hardest part that I find about these modern tales for kids, is they try to like grow up the kids too much. They divorce them too much from their families. Like the Ash Ketchum thing with Pokemon. Like his mom's like, go ahead, travel the country unsupervised. Hopefully you don't get stabbed or murdered by the wild animals you're going to come in conflict with. And
other adults.
Yeah, who are criminals, apparently, And so I just want to go back to like having family superheroes. Like I grew up watching Bionic 6. Do you remember the Bionic 6?
Fuck yeah, dude.
And that was like the perfect superhero show for me. That had like everything I loved. Had good family dynamic, had an awesome theme song, giant monkey, everything was great. Perfect. A+. And then they just dropped the whole concept of having a conventional, functional family. I think Up and Away was the last Disney show that Disney movie that put superhero families in a good light.
Yeah. Was that with Kurt Russell?
Yeah, and it had Red. No, it had another the other comedic black actor in it as the grandfather. He was the old fart superhero. But yeah, they just dropped that concept. They're just like, fuck families. We just need kids to go out and just risk their lives for no reason at all. And so when Isaac is with the Colossals, it's because he's followed his mother into danger. It's not because he's like, you know, that's his purpose as a character. It's because he's like Scooby-Doo Daphne wandered into a problem. He's not supposed to be there. And all the writing supports this, that he's like outmatched and outclassed. He's not supposed to come out on top against adults. That's not how kids work. And that, you know, again, like that kind of limitation reminds you why he has a mother, why he has a supervising figure that watches over him that way. And that's what happens with Isaac. When he gets in over his head, his mom comes and saves him. That gets embarrassing for him, too.
Oh, Mom. Come on, Mom.
As he grows up into a teenager and his body is upgraded, he ends up training because he becomes obsessed with being able to protect her. Like, you know, he becomes like obsessed with rising to a level of combat prowess so that she doesn't have to be activated, that she can stay home and be safe. And so, like a true son would, growing up to protect his mother like he's supposed to. And so that's what happens with him, is that because she's so super capable, he gets this inferiority complex about him that ends up driving him to this immense power level. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm jamming on it, dude.
I took 100 years of DC Comics and I distilled it down and I started building my universe out of that. So everything I saw functioning over 100 years of DC, I built into mine. That's why everything feels like, wait a minute, you're just doing #1 now? Yeah. Because I built everything to feel like it's all just there waiting to happen, that it's all living already.
When's your next campaign?
It'll probably be sometime in February or March. Leandro's working on Colossal's pages right now. I suppose I could just show you guys those things. It's not like you're going to remember come campaign time. Nothing against you. It's not like a diss. It's you got lives to live. You know, you got
people won't remember my hard work.
You got lives to live, ladies and gentlemen. I recognize this. So these are just black and white right now. They're not. Hold on, I gotta figure out which tab I'm in. I got too many open here. This one. So that. Where am I? Okay, here we are. Hold on. Sorry, I had like 1,000 tabs open there. It's crazy. So, there we go. So this is the cover for the Colossals Part 2. It's in black and white at the moment. But it features Aziz, the villain we met in the first Colossals. And he, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking when you said Aziz, I always go, Aziz, light.
Exactly.
Fifth Element. Aziz, more light.
Mm-hmm. I just like the way the name sounds. It just sounds like a Aziz. His name is Aziz. It just has a name. Like, you know, you feel like that guy probably commits crime. That guy.
Yeah, either he's like a really good guy, like a really badass good guy, or like a bad guy. Like he has to be a tough guy though.
Right. And well, his original name, I'll explain him some other time. There's a lot of lore here today. I'm gonna blow people's brains. So anyway, this is Star Supreme, and as you can see, Star Supreme is inside of the crystal ball here, but she's up against Nega Supreme. That's a clone of her. That's a magical duplicate. And first page here, you have Hypercussion coming up with his clone behind him. Razor's facing off of his clone. Shadow Spinner's hiding from hers, and Sola and Isaac. Isaac's lost an arm.
Oh shit! I see the fucking Hall of Justice in the background.
Right. That's not where they are, but I wanted to put an homage to that in there, so I put that in the background. Well, I didn't. I asked the artist to do it. Forgive me. I asked the artist to do that. So Delilah here, she has a globe that tracks where the Colossals are all over the planet, and she's facing off against her clone. And finally, we meet Nega Supreme, who sits on top of the statue we saw in the overlay over here. Remember the overlay I showed you?
Yeah.
So, as you can see, the statue's right here. That's the same statue. So there she is, sitting on top of it. Star Supreme's like, who the fuck are you? Get off my statue. And it's Nega Supreme. All the clones have an M over their left eye. Now, see, I did that because if you go back and you look through all like these conspiracy things that talk about the evil cabal that controls the world, they have actors and actresses and elites cover their left eye in photography.
Yeah, and what is the conspiracy of you'll see random people with like a black eye. Right?
I don't know, man.
They show everybody the black, and it's like, oh, that's weird. But then they show all these random people, like, I mean, they show like music people doing like a left eye where they're doing like a little like peekaboo through an eye, but then they show all these politicians with like a black eye. Like part of the initiation is like just like catching a fucking right hook.
Apparently, you get the hell beaten out of you or something. I don't know.
Like this will be the last slap or last punch you'll ever accept. Like like knights and shit. Like no one will ever punch you again.
Right. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Weird cultist stuff. That's all I got.
Drinking that fucking gold juice.
But then you have Hypercussion up against his clone, and they're having a tussle. See, with Hypercussion isn't just a speedster. He can project sound waves, concentrated sound waves from his palms. Because one of the things that irritated me about Flash,
vibrate. He could like vibrate his hands.
Well, it shoots sound waves out of his palms, so it's not like his hands are moving. The palms themselves send out the concentrated sound waves. And one of the reason is one of the things that irritated me about Flash is that Flash couldn't change direction easily.
Yeah.
They had to show him skidding to a stop and then running again, going in a different direction. And I understand that. So what I decided, though, is that I would incorporate parkour into a speedster. So rather than having to like skid to a stop, he just picks his legs up, shoots these sound barriers into the ground, shifts his sound waves into the ground, shifts the way that he's like pointing, comes back down onto the ground, running again, and he's moving in that direction. Again, it can be used in combat, as you see here with him and his clone, where they're hitting each other so hard with this stuff that it's breaking the visors they have. So, and then the clone reveals himself to be a clone.
Yeah, I kind of liked how they were showing like Quicksilver in the X-Men movies. Like he seemed to almost kind of like parkouring, like he was just kind of like going so fast that like he was like able to jump off of shit and like jump off of the side of the wall and stuff. Like it wasn't just like the Flash, where you're just hauling ass in one direction really fucking fast.
Yeah, and I understand why they do that, but this is one of the corrections that I made with Hypercussion is I wanted to give him like every possible reason to be able to maneuver around and give him a little different speedster thing that you don't usually see with speedsters. They don't usually come with sound powers. So
that's dope, dude.
And there's Razor being defeated by his clone. He's been into the staircases in front of the Hall of Justice there. And he's about to get aced when his boss Bale shows up and brings him a card. And he accepts the deal that Bale has given him. Bale is excited about this. And One of the things with Razor is you don't say his sister's name. No one is allowed to say her name.
Copy that.
And her name is Julie.
Don't tell me that.
They were, his name is James Nakamura, Jimmy Nakamura, and hers is Julie Nakamura. And she was about 2 years older than him. And so the clone taunts him here. The clone's the one wearing the helmet. The clone taunts him, and he's asking, like, what did you say? No one says her name. And he powers up. Then we go to Delilah having a memory of Merlin when he was young. And there'll be a lot of light here, so you're not going to see a dick. But this is Atlantis. Good. This is how Atlantis used to look. In my setting. There were pyramids here and things like that. And then there's Delilah as an angel. Down in the corner here.
I think I'm almost done.
Oh, righteous. Of course, she's arguing with her clone, who's satisfied with getting a reaction out of her. And then we see Delilah's boyfriend, who is an ancient samurai trapped in a sword.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep. And so the thing is that Delilah can free him at any time. But if she does, he'll either age or leave her, like all the other ones have. And so she tells him he can't be freed. Meanwhile, he believes her and is in love with her, and she enjoys that. But he's trapped in his own sword. And his story, again, he has his own little story too, is that every night in his world, which is inside the sword, he has to fight for his life against shadow demons.
Oh, that's fucked up.
So he doesn't even get like to just wander around aimlessly. It's like a fight for his life every night.
Oh,
if he gives over to him, it starts over the next day. It doesn't matter if he gets killed or not. And so, oh yeah, no, Delilah's not a good person. She's one of those necessary evils in this world. That's the thing about her. It's what I love about her, is she's not a good person. And then there she is, her clone is like taking advantage of Delilah, like, you know, being so emotionally distraught, she dropped her wine, you know. Serious business when you drop your wine, you know. Shadow spinner with her clone, and she's remembering the time that she had to kill a man when she was a child. This little tiny shadow spinner over here.
Do you remember?
And then this panel is just sick as shit. I love this panel. I'm gonna turn this into like promotional.
Oh, that's good.
It's colored. It looks really good. And they chase each other. I really like this panel too, where he does
That's
the
good
negative
too.
shadow.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, really dynamic. And so he's running through the caves here, which is underneath Bangor, Maine. And she's about to get aced. And we cut back. We meet Freyan. This is Freyan over here, by the way. The one on the left. That's Freyan. And there's Sky on the right. So they're about to fight Nega Supreme. Get thrown through the statue. And that's it. That's it. All we got so far, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. There's your spoilers. Now you've seen all the colossals I have.
Dude, I love it, dude. I'm still fucking with the elephant monster.
Cool, man. Cool.
You want to see it?
Sure. Absolutely.
I mean, it's not
I'm glad that it
AI.
inspires something, dude. I was just having fun talking about my conspiracy theory that I invented.
It's not AI, so just you're gonna have to bear with me.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay. I'll do my best, Matt. You know, it's AI. I don't consider that art. Those are image generations. That's what I call them. Oh wow. Okay. Damn. All right. Yeah. That's yeah. There you go. That would be what's inside of there. Yep.
What do you think?
I think that's pretty freaking scary, man. That's pretty freaking scary.
And then like the armor would be like molded for each creature's fucking hornage. You know what I mean? Like these horns aren't like nice symmetrical horns. They're like horns of chaos. You know what I mean? They just fucking twist around and fucking split and keep growing. So like the armor maybe like tries to like sleek it up, but it still has to be like all fucking non-symmetrical. It almost is like like nothing is symmetrical on them or something.
Sure. I
Two
mean, they have
two
three
two
eyes.
trunks, you know, maybe like 2 trunks.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah,
said
the
that they
eyes.
saw the remains of one. It doesn't mean that there wasn't two that ended up rotting into one. The way the tomatoes grow together,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just fucking around. I hope you like it.
No, I really do. I love it. It adds a bunch of different dimensions to it. So I was just thinking like elephant dog people that died on the ship. But yeah, no, you've got like this whole like species that's got its own evolutionary chain, ceremonies, and like culture. That's awesome. That's just from this weird little text document that I put together 3 years ago. You know, I love it. This is the kind of shit that I live for, man. That everybody gets off on like, oh, I'm gonna be the next Stan Lee, and I'm just like, I just want to make cool shit. That's all I
Yeah.
care about, dude. I just want to make cool shit.
That is just fun to do.
People
Just
ask me like,
fucking
what do you define as success? And I was like, when a little kid walks up to me and says, "Hey, Mister, can I tell you about my favorite superhero, Star Supreme?" That's when I'll define myself as success.
If some little kid comes up to me and is like, "I loved Rock and Roll Ninja," I'd be like, "Who the fuck gave that to you?" It says mature reader
It's
on
a
there,
little over
dude.
your head, huh? See, I had a little bit of that experience happen to me. I took my comics to the weed shop that I buy from, and they're like a medical place, so like families can go there. They have
Mhm.
everything locked up, so the kids can't get into anything. They have their own little play place, even, and so it's separate from the sale area. And so the kid, this family comes in, and the kid sees the colossals up on the counter, and he's like, "What's that?" And so the owner brings it down and offers it to him to read, and he's reading it. And he can't quite get through the wording because I put the collegial level stuff in there the way that Stan Lee said you should. You shouldn't like
Don't
underestimate your
yeah.
reader. You should always challenge them to learn new words. And so his father's helping him read it. And they get through the book before it's time to go. And the kid's like, "Oh, it's time to go. You got to put it back." And the kid doesn't want to. And the owner says, "No, I've got more copies. You go ahead and take it home." So somewhere in my vicinity, somewhere within Waldo County, where I live in Maine, there's a copy of the Colossals on some little kid's floor, some little 8-year-old's floor. There's a copy of the Colossals, and it makes me so happy to know that this kid just saw that and wanted to take it home. Like, yes, I did it. I did the thing I set out to do. That's who I'm making that for, is little kids. In fact, like 8 to 14 is the goal, is the place I was trying to hit for this age group. So it's like everything I wanted to do, I did it. Yes.
He's just gonna be reading that comic over and over, and then he's gonna go to college. He'd be like, "Man, you guys remember that comic Colossals? You guys have that book?
Yeah, right. They'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about? You gay?"
You had one of those too? Oh shit."
No, I don't think I'll be that successful, but maybe, I don't know. But and that's the point of it all. Yeah, I think a lot of people forget like that this is just supposed to be, you're supposed to aim for kids. You're supposed to make this stuff to entertain children. If adults like it, that's neat. But
I think like mainstream comic books, I think mainstream comic books need to be kid friendly for sure. You know, um,
well, I'm talking
I,
stuff
I'm
like sex scenes and stuff. I mean, like I grew up in the 90s when like Blob was eating Wasp in a 2-page spread, was like
yeah.
eating her body, I
Was
that
this
that I'm talking
did they
about
take the
sex in
Comic Code
comics.
Authority? Was the Comic Code Authority taken off by that point?
It was just the 90s. It was that weird story where everything was evil, and and Hank Pym had to watch Blob eat Wasp in front of him or
I
whatever.
wonder how they depicted it. I wonder if was it like off camera
No,
or like
no, he was
he
like
was just
full
straight up
on
fucking
chomping
munching
her
her?
in half, like full on Attack on Titan eating her.
Jeez.
Blood splatter everywhere. It was
'Cause
it was
I
way
like
over
the
the top.
Comic
It
Book Code
was
Authority. There's like certain rules and like
yeah.
borders that keeps you like, okay, we have to be not so on the nose with stuff. We have to be a little bit more subtle in our messages, and and it allows you to give it to a child. Like I
Yeah.
have cousins and nephews, and I love to just go into my fucking long boxes and just grab a handful of comics and give them to them. That's how
One
you
of
get new
the
readers. And like I have to check. I'm not giving them anything that's Marvel that doesn't have the comic code. So they're getting like Larson, Spider-Mans, and fucking, you know what I mean? They're getting like creme de la creme shit.
So when I was coming up, my local library, I gotta find a big picture of this. Why is Google like full of pictures for ants? Who uploads these tiny ass little pictures?
I mean, I know it's like, yeah, like people
But
grow up and they still like the comic books, but it's like you have to realize that like those comic books are like morality tales for kids.
they are.
I
That's what
feel
that's
like,
the core
you
of
know,
it is supposed to be. The core of it is supposed to be for kids.
yeah.
You can do crazy weird stuff. Like again, like when I was talking about Blob eating wasp. This is the same era where Sentry ripped Ares in half. This is the same time period when the
Mm,
Void got loose and
yeah.
Sentry had all the gods coming after him.
Yeah, I don't think they had the
You
comic code
know?
authority at that point. I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
they diluted it.
So that kind of stuff I find to be overboard. That's a
I do
little
too. I
over the
agree.
top.
Yeah.
But again, like I'm not telling you that you can't put like Bruce Wayne's parents being shot in a comic. That's not the limit I want to put on you. The limit I want to put on you is like a blatant sex scene, like Savage Dragon jizzing all over his girlfriend,
Oh my
and
god. I
then
know. It's like, come
and
on, man.
and that kind of stuff, and then like the grotesque, way over the top violence of like Blob eating Wasp and Sentry ripping Ares in half. It's way over the top and unnecessary. That's all. That's
Yeah.
just me though.
Like
I
I
mean,
think
like
about my books, like I don't think about my books as like monthly floppies. Like I think about them as like graphic novels. Like Rock and Roll Ninja isn't like one episode. Not that I'm knocking Wreck Planet, but it's like there's no like crazy cliffhanger. Like you get like the whole
right,
story, you know,
one and
like
done.
yeah, yeah. Like I want Rock and Roll Ninja to be like in your bathroom. You know what I
Sure.
mean? You like sit down, you could just like read the whole thing in like two shits.
Hey
But
man, that's how manga was supposed to work, right?
yeah, it feels it even though I'm like, fuck manga, like it does feel very manga. It's like it's
Good.
100 pages, it's thick, and but it's like I see them as like movies.
Yeah,
Not that I'm saying I want my shit to be movies, but it's like, okay, this is my action Asian ninja movie that I
sure.
did. And but like it would be an R movie. Like I would not want kids to see the
Right.
rock and roll ninja movie. Now I have other ideas in my noodle that are like the Happy Feet. You know what I mean? Like the same guy, George Miller, the same guy that did Fury Road, also did Happy Feet. You know, so
Yeah.
it's possible to like shift gears and do
Yeah.
it well. So
Humans are like these neat things that are multifaceted.
yeah,
Kind of a neat
I want to
thing.
do other stuff, and I'm not
Yeah.
knocking superheroes. I'm not knocking
Nah.
power stuff, but
No.
it's like I kind of want to do other stuff in that
Sure.
medium. You know what I mean? Like
There's a ton of stuff you
a
can do with it.
western.
That's
Like
the
I
thing.
want JDA to write a script that's like very like Lieutenant Blueberry Western. And like we were
Yeah.
talking about, I was like, I don't want any magic. I don't want any fucking werewolves or vampires. Like I just want a fucking legit fucking Western, you know?
Sure.
And he was like, hell yeah. So that yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I want to do, you know?
Yeah. No, I can't blame you, man. That
But it's like it definitely feels more
people
adult. Like
are.
I'm aware that
Oh yeah.
I'm doing more adult stuff, but I feel like the mainstream needs to be it needs to be kid friendly. Like a kid needs to be able to pick that shit up and not be like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean,
Blob is
odds
eating a
are,
fucking woman, you know? It's like, holy
yeah,
shit.
that should not be a thing that happens. Least of all with like an Avengers character like Wasp. You know, that's like
That's fucked up.
people bonded with that character. And now they're seeing that. But like, for me, I've focused on the children's entertainment of this stuff. Like I've shown some of the stuff here, like Fling,
That's
this
cool.
little guy, and I have an artist working on pages for this right now, and I have theme songs for him and all that jazz. Even T-shirts are out there now.
It's so funny,
And
like the hair looks like a moire pattern,
yeah,
right? It's kind of funny.
and so it could be how the lines are being compressed um, with the picture here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's probably how the lines are being compressed. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to focus on children's entertainment and deliver this stuff right here. This is just do you remember Naruto?
Is that the Ninja Kids? The
Yeah,
Ninja
the little
School or
orange
something?
ninja guy.
I'm aware of them. I'm not a
Yeah.
retard, but
Nah, it's
I didn't
okay.
watch it. You know what I mean?
Can't
It's like
blame you.
I've seen it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen them pop up in the Fortnite store.
Yeah. So what I did is I took like Naruto's story, which is like a very motivated, punkish outsider character who wants to become the leader of his people. I took that story and I slammed it up with Sonic, which is like a young guy with attitude who saves his world as often as he can because he can. You know, he's got good friends and he wants to be attentive to them and be part of their world and that kind of thing. And so that's what Fling's story is he wants to be king, but he has a lot to learn in the process of that, but he's way too much in a hurry to be king.
I like the little the sash attached to the dude's fucking horn. I think that's kind of clever.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's a cool little element.
Excel is the bodyguard and best friend of Fling. And so he's just it's a frog and a shark merged together. That's what I do with this world is I fuse animals into new species.
Sure. Fuck it.
Fling himself is a just switch over. Can't tell. Yeah. Fling himself is a monkey and a wolf merged together, and I call them howler monkeys. And he's the Prince of Howlhalla. He's got himself.
Dude, as soon as you said monkey, I started thinking monkey with a tool belt. Have you
Yeah.
know that show?
Yeah.
Chico, bonbon, monkey with the tool belt. This does not look like monkey with a tool belt.
No, it's not monkey with a tool belt. But here's a monkey with a tool belt.
Look at her working. She's fixing stuff.
Yep. I took Gadget from the Rescue Soldiers, and I merged Rescue
Rangers.
Rescue Soldiers is my thing.
Is there some cheese around here? I
Yeah, like
smell
Monty.
cheese.
Yeah. I took Gadget and I merged her up with Bulma from Dragon Ball.
Nice.
And this is Fuchsia. And when she was a little tiny thing, she was crawling around in her father's junkyard, and a piece of metal fell down and cut her tail off.
Oh.
And so she's been kind of like weirdly isolated ever since then because she's different from every other howler monkey. And Fling likes her because she's like got her own thing. She does things that are different from other girls. And so, because they're too young to know what love is. So they just sort of like have a fascination with each other. Like, you're weird, I like you. Well, you're weirder, so I like you too. And they go on to be boyfriend and girlfriend like much later on in their story. But Fuchsia has a crush on Fling, and she doesn't know how to like express it because she's like a little kid. She's a little kid. So she wears that cyan colored F there. She tells everybody it's F for Fuchsia, but it's the same color F for Fling. And they play video games.
I want to do a manga book.
Yeah, you should. You really should, dude. I tell you this.
I got the manga idea already.
I got you a really great opportunity. Viz Media, the people that publish Shonen Jump and all the other printed manga basically coming out of Japan, they're taking submissions from the West right now. It's not a cap either. It's not like 10,000. We're not going to take any more. It's a rolling submission.
It's a one shot. Okay.
Yeah, they'll do one shots and they'll do series.
It's like this grandfather and this father and the son. They have like this Ultraman kaiju power, maybe.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
And so like the grandfather, he fights some of the stuff and then they're gone. Then the dad is like, hey, I have this power, but there's no kaijus, or there's nothing is happening, but I need to pass it on to my son. But he does it like on the DL, like nobody knows that it's him. But then the son, he gets the power, and the dad's like, look, you only got like a limited amount.
Right.
So
I already like it.
Be careful, right? So the kid is like, oh, okay, and just like turns into a fucking celebrity with it. Like just starts flexing the power and like using it. And then at some point, like he's at the point where like he's barely doing sparks, like the equivalent of sparks. So it's like he's kind of like got a pot belly. He's like had movie deals, and like he like plays movies of his own shit. You know what I mean? And then a kaiju shows up, and there's a whole moment of like where he has to like pull his shit together and fucking suck his gut in and get out into the street and fight and face this, because it's like, holy shit, like this is what you were really here for, not the other weird stuff, but this is. And the kaiju just like fucking rips him in half and eats him because he doesn't have any power. And then the last like page, you just see like the planet like go black, like the fucking like this black ooze just kind of goes across the planet, and that's the end. And
Yep.
that's the story. I was
Yep.
like, that's pretty Asian. That's pretty fucked up in Asian, right? It seems
It's
kind of
pretty fucked
Korean,
up in
you know.
Asian. Okay.
It seems kind of fucked up, you know. Seems like a Korean movie, you know, where
Yeah,
they
I
have
mean
this big
it's
moment of like, yes, I'm gonna put the armor on. I can do this. I can muster it up, and the thing just fucking picks him up and eats him.
like a horror. It's like a horror story.
Just at the last moment, you know. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe that's too much.
No, man. No.
But I love Ultraman though. But I don't want it to be like Ultra Mega too, because I saw Ultra Mega. I was like, oh fuck. You know, have you seen Ultra Mega?
No, maybe I did.
It's like a Western kind of take on Ultraman and Kaiju, where Kaiju is like a cosmic disease
Oh.
and it manifests in people. And if you have like the Ultra Mega power, like you manifest into a kind of an Ultraman kind of a fighter,
Oh.
and you fight these giant monsters, and then you shrink back down. It's really cool. But
This sounds
yeah, I
about right.
saw that. It's like talking about like, when they first met, when the worlds were hot and wet and
See you, Drake.
young and fucking. Oh yeah, is he leaving because I'm talking?
No, it's like almost 2:00 in the morning.
Oh
That's why he's
shit.
leaving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
James Herring comic, dude. It's fucking like he's on crack, or not crack, but he's like on acid with this shit, dude. It is like really cool cosmic stuff, but it's really manga influenced.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll talk, but I do want to do like an Ultra. I loved Ultraman as a kid. I thought that was the
Yeah.
dopest shit.
Yeah, you know what the crazy thing about Ultraman is, right? So the creator based it off of the story of Christianity. He's a hardcore Christian.
Oh, really?
Hardcore. Oh yeah. And so the story of Ultraman sacrificing himself when his people come and they say, "Hey, you got to come back," and he's like, "No, I'll stay. You'll die if you stay. That doesn't matter. Earth is where love is."
Maybe then
And
maybe the guy who gets crushed and eaten, maybe he like releases something inside the monster, and he does like sacrifice himself.
well, no,
Yeah.
you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Like your horror take on it is like a flip of the coin. So like where Ultraman was originally inspired by the sacrifice of Christ, you have instead now the story of the guy that didn't sacrifice, the guy that instead gave in to hedonism and abused his power and abused his purpose to the point where he was useless when it was time to use that purpose.
Yeah.
And that's a good coin flip. I wouldn't change what you got already, man. That's a good coin flip.
It's a hard lesson.
Yeah. And the Japanese love that stuff. They eat that up. Because they're like, haha, that stupid person fell for that. I would not fall for that. I am not stupid. Because they
Yeah.
talk like Mojo Jojo.
Yeah, I'll make it like an American. It's like, oh, an American got the power. Haha, of course. Of course he's on
Sure.
TV.
You could do that. You could make it into a Korean guy, those K-pop guys. You can't tell me a K-pop
That's
guy
what I
wouldn't
thought
have used
about.
that.
That
You know?
absolutely made me think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's like doing performances on stage and like dancing and singing and like
Of
flexing his
course.
powers.
Yeah. You got all that stuff. Absolutely. See, I
And
don't stray
this
from the dark
moment
stuff.
of the father just kind of like watching and like lowering his head and walking away and just kind of like doing that like Spider-Man look over his shoulder,
Yeah.
like, I'm so disappointed in my son.
Yeah. Well, he knows what this means.
Yeah.
So
I hope that they don't return and prove me wrong.
yeah. And that's that, and then there wasn't another precaution. So that's why the planet goes dark at the end. It's all right
Yeah.
there. It's all right there.
But then it would be an interesting prologue to like the actual story where that creature that's made that planet go black, just like it goes from looking like an Earth globe to just like a ball of onyx, and
Yeah.
that could be like, planet 492. And then you switch to planet 498, and then you start the story over, and maybe this person hasn't used all their power, or maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like,
You don't even necessarily have to do like your Planet 498 situation. You can like draw a rewind button on there and go back to the point where he made the decision to cause a problem and move forward with a righteous character from that point.
Mm.
That's all you have to do. A couple of panels with like some of that VHS streak on it to make it look like it's rewinding. Exactly. And then he makes the right choice in this alternate story. And you can go forward with that from that point of him being a righteous hero. And that's, there you go. There's plenty of these opportunities that are out there. See, what manga does for us is it says, don't abandon your original thread. This is the problem with the way American comics approach this. They're like, okay, story's over. We're never going to talk about it again unless we need it for an Infinite Crisis bullshit. And that's what ends up happening to a lot of these neat plot lines is they're like 1, 2, or 6 issues and they're done. They're never referenced again. They're over. And so you end up with like this pile of crap that has nothing to do with anything. Meanwhile, what you're putting together right now is like a Dragon Ball take on it. You're taking the story that's original, then going back and revisiting. Remember Goku Black? You remember that character that showed up recently?
No, I don't.
So
I don't
Black,
really follow Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll give you a really simple overview. He's a time travel version of Goku where a bad guy went back and took over his body. So Goku has all those crazy Super Saiyan powers, golden hair and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Now this evil guy has all that power and he's killing everybody that Goku loves. Okay.
Oh shit. That's bad
So
news.
you now have, but again, that doesn't disobey how the manga works in that you're keeping the same characters, the same through line in that there's a conflict, there's a super powerful villain, and that villain has to be overcome somehow. They've only flipped it and that villain is Goku this time. So here you have your same take on that in that you have rewinding back to a point where this kaiju fighter made a decision to be a poor representation of his purpose. Now you rewind to a point where he makes the decision to be the best representation of that purpose. And you're just doing that. You're revisiting a point and then exploring where it comes from. That's all Evangelion is. If you haven't noticed, Evangelion is just going back to the well and saying, well, what if Shinji didn't rape Ahsoka, Asuka, whatever the fuck her name is.
Yeah.
You know, that's all you're doing. And that again, it sounds rudimentary, but it's poetry. George Lucas showed us this. You can repeat things, but they can't be the same instrument doing it again, if you'll pardon the metaphor.
No,
it has to be something different. And you've already birthed that with this concept of having a failure and then using timey-wimey, rewindy bullshit to go back and revisit the point where he made a bad decision. I don't shy away from this stuff. Star Supreme's husband, we're still working on his design. This isn't final. Star Supreme's husband, he's from a future where evil won. In my setting, there's like Transformers in my setting are called the Garish Nerva, and they're all evil. They're like Daleks, and they go around converting people into them, like Cybermen. They're forcibly converting organic life into mechanical life. And he comes from a future where the war was lost, that he was created to fight. He's made out of basically my Power Ranger grid energy that I call overtime energy and human DNA. And he lost the war. He was part of a 5-man group that was supposed to end it, and he lost the war. So now when we first meet him in his own story, he's aboard a spaceship called the Aquaterra. And the Aquaterra is like a 10,000-year-old human space colony. So it's got all that nature overgrowth you see in like the Fallout franchise, but it's full of aliens because he's got like an ark where he's been going around collecting the last of organic life in the universe. And finally, he ends up traveling through time when he goes to a library back to the point where Star Supreme is, and he saves her life. That isn't where they originally meet. You're going to meet him in the next Colossals, the Mark of Merlin. Not this next copy coming out, but the next arc. And he's in a Dream World series. Remember when Superman was trapped in the Black Mercy, where he was like given everything and he wouldn't give it up, and the Black Mercy would eventually kill him? You know, Dream World. That's basically what happens to Star Supreme. Is she's put in a world where she has children with Trintillion, that they're married and very much in love, and she has like a perfect life where she's able to be a superhero and a mom and a wife, and everything works out. And so it's like pulling teeth to get her to come back to reality, where she has to give him up. And his last words to her are, I will find you, Sky Blue. It doesn't matter how long or how far I have to travel.
I like a good love story, dude.
Yep.
Yeah,
No, I was just gonna say, and they end up like having this very nice romance where Star Supreme gets to retire. So, and that's one of my vital things is that way I estimate it is that superheroes have a 25-year shelf life. You can tell you got 25 years before you're retreading old ground, before you're making costume changes to tell the same story.
Yeah.
It's
undoing
25
marriages,
years.
redoing
Right.
marriages.
Exactly. You got 25 years before you're retreading old ground. And that's basically where I've planned Star Supreme to retire, to let her children take over. And what that team will be called is the Colossals Remix. And that team will go forward with like the same sort of idea, but it'll have her 3 children that are involved in it. And then the Isaac and the other kids he was with. So sort of like how the Justice League should have evolved into Terry McGinnis and Connor Kent and Cassie Wonder Girl. It should have evolved that way. And it didn't because corporations hate taking risks. This will evolve that way. So Star Supreme will retire, all the Colossals will eventually retire, and the younger group will take over.
You got a bunch of shit planned out.
Yeah. See, what happened, Matt, is I had 10 years to lay on my back in a hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that'll do it.
And I hate live television. So all I had was the ceiling tiles to keep me company most of the time and a lot of drugs. So, and I'll tell you, man, that Dilaudid, you think you got writer's block. You get shot up with Dilaudid, you're not going to have too much writer's block. I promise you.
Yeah. And then. You know what I want to do right now? I want to lay vertically.
Yeah.
Or no, wait. Horizontal. Right?
Okay.
I want to go bed.
Horizontal's the one that goes down. Sleepy time.
It's bedtime for Bonzo.
Thank you for drawing that elephant monster. That's great, man. That's great,
dude. Yeah, no, thank you for, because I was like, man, what do I've been like drawing some other shit all day that was like work related, so it was cool to just kind of like
doodle,
cut loose and get weird. Yeah, and doodle something.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad I caught you when you wanted to doodle some crazy stuff. That reminds me of those Dexter's Laboratory monsters.
I never watched Dexter's Laboratory.
Man. They kind of drew monsters like that. The Gendy Taranovsky or whatever his name was. But
I do like his stuff. I just I got onto his boat like with Samurai Jack is when I was.
Oh yeah. Well, it does look kind of like the Samurai Jack monsters too, because again, like his monster style didn't change, like those jagged edges and the straight twisted horns, very much out of that type. The diamond eyes as well on the monster. Very good choice.
Thank you so much. All right, buddy.
All right, bedtime.
Hey guys, thanks for the chat. Thanks for being here with us. Right?
Yeah, I'm happy for it.
Yeah. All right, I'm out. You guys have a good night. Peace.
See you later. So we've come to the end of it. Started off with conspiracies, talked a lot about the Ciderverse, like spoiled most of the book. But thank you all for tuning in. And I hope that you had fun here tonight. I know that I talked a lot of crazy shit and it probably melted your brain with a lot of lore, but that's how this goes. So I'm going to play that anime outro that I always do. And I hope you all have a good night.
Destiny turned her face, nightmares and violent shapes. State of dreaming has left me numb. Blue eyes and wandering lips, true life to fingertips. Hidden tales of forbidden love. You've left me miserable, miserable. You've left me miserable.
Maybe we're just sleepwalking. I hope whenever and wherever you wake up, you continue to fight the dying of the light.